Meyer backpedaling, running out of time, spinning away, and nobody open. Now he flips it up into traffic and makes a mistake. Trying to force the play, and it's intercepted. BJ Mays rumbling down inside the 10.
This is 365 Sports.
Bowling Green with no timeouts. Nick Singleton. Touchdown, Penn State.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Klubnik, undaunted, unafraid, complete, Turner, touchdown!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Why not?
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hickner off to the races. Hickner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75. It's a Pony Express.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go, 365 Sports on a Monday, and we have hit the month of June. June the 2nd, we appreciate your time. It was an interesting weekend in many ways, especially when it comes to college baseball. We'll update that, plus up at the College World Series in Oklahoma City with one team punching their ticket to play for the national championship. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Garrett Ross today running the mothership as he does every day. Andrew Valade has already put one of his polls up, both on the various championships, including the series between Oklahoma City and what a run by Indiana and the Pacers knocking out the New York Knicks. It is why they play the games. Paul and Craig, what a weekend in college baseball. It's not over. We're watching North Carolina, Oklahoma right now. There's other game 7 or game 3s tonight. We'll get to that in a minute, but it was intriguing and was, well, to me, why they play the games.
Yeah, it was a really great weekend of games and tons of upsets. I mean, you have four of the top 8 seeds have lost, or 4 national seeds lost. Georgia lost, Texas lost, Vandy lost. I'm leaving somebody out that's in there. But the SEC had 13 teams get in. And if things don't go their way today, for example, if Carolina knocks off Oklahoma and it continues down the way, they could have only 2 make it to the Super Regionals. Only so far, Arkansas and Auburn have gotten through, with Tennessee having to play today. 7 of the teams already being eliminated.
LSU, Ole Miss. Yeah. Did you mention OU?
Yeah, LSU and Ole Miss and have to play today too. LSU's got to knock off the other Cinderella of this tournament, Little Rock. UTSA, whose coach we'll have on the show here in a little while, about an hour or so, or a little more than an hour. They knocked off Texas. It was a heck of a weekend.
Well, Craig, your thoughts, and then we'll show a couple of graphics. Not quite yet, but Craig, your thoughts on the weekend.
Yeah, no, it was very entertaining. I mean, college baseball is something that this time of year is it's not everybody's cup of tea. The other parts of the year necessarily, but everybody does get excited for World Series time, and that goes for softball as well. And, a lot of interesting results over the weekend. I've been a lot deeper into it than I expected to be. I think that's because of the amount of quote-unquote upsets. But as you mentioned, that's why they play the game. If it was up to committees, like some people would like it to be, or if it was up to, other ways of arranging things predetermined and whatnot, then we did not have played these games. We just fast forward and had all these big national seeds that get to go play for championships because they came from a certain conference or because of, this or that. And instead you have to actually go play and you have to go earn it ultimately. And in baseball, that is still the case. I don't know what it will be in football eventually, but in baseball, that is the case. And just like it is in basketball, you got some upsets and you got some teams that on paper wouldn't be given a benefit of the doubt, but on the field, they go out there and they earn it. And that was fun to see. A lot of teams earning their way into their next game or into the next round. And, just some big-time storylines and upsets rolling out of this weekend. So it's fun to see it keep going on. North Carolina's up pretty comfortably on Oklahoma, even though it's early right now, but they're already up by 4 in the third inning. So Tar Heels feeling good and still have some more damage they can do this inning. And I think they just did. So they just added another run. But yeah, it's fun to have on in the background. I like this time of year.
Garrett, do you have the graphic of the games today? Can we start with that?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah, we'll start with that. That gives you an idea of the game threes. These are elimination games, just like there were some yesterday when it comes to college baseball. But you did see even like North Dakota State had a losing record, and then they were able to win, but did not get to it. But here we are, top left-hand corner. Louisville has punched their ticket. They'll play the winner of the games tonight between Miami and is that Southern Miss?
Yep, in Hattiesburg. Yeah.
Florida State punched their ticket. They will play either Oregon State hosting tonight against USC. There's that Oklahoma-North Carolina game against the Big 12's Arizona. Then you have Auburn and Coastal Carolina will meet in the Super Regionals. Coastal Carolina beating East Carolina, but also a storyline before their game with Florida. On the top right-hand side, UTSA, their head coach will join us, their baseball coach today at 4:40, beating Texas 3 times this year, including twice in Austin over the weekend. UCLA, with a win against UC Irvine, they will play UTSA. Then you have Ole Miss playing tonight against Murray State. The winner will get Duke, who knocked out Georgia. And then you have Arkansas Little Rock LSU tonight. The winner will get West Virginia. Nice win for the Mountaineers. And we'll hear from their play-by-play broadcaster a little later in the show. Then you have Wake Forest, Tennessee tonight. The winner will get Arkansas. Those are the games that still have to be played. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tickets still need to be punched into the Super Regionals.
Yeah, and hosting wasn't a great thing. Host schools, Vanderbilt, Texas, Oregon,
Georgia,
Clemson all lost so far.
Vanderbilt, you say that?
I said that, yeah. Okay. So, Georgia, Clemson all lost so far. And North Carolina hosting now, but in control. They're a really scary team. They're really good, really deep in pitching, and you don't they're one of the teams that's set up to win in this format because if they take a loss, their pitching staff is really deep. They have really good offense. They just kind of they wear you out. And I was personally a little bit surprised, although Arizona's been playing well lately. Oregon had a really great season, but man, the Wildcats did great. West Virginia still hanging in there. So not an overall bad showing from the Big 12, who kind of maybe faded into the background baseball-wise a little bit. Oklahoma State pushed it all the way to the limit as well.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State got eliminated, so that was a bit of a bummer, or I guess it wasn't a perfect weekend, if you will, but having Arizona, West Virginia in the next round is a nice, nice duo entering, and maybe another one. Obviously, K-State eliminated as well, so you had a couple of teams that fell, but I think you feel good about what you still got representing for the league if you get into those types of things. And, maybe better than it was anticipated to be heading into this past weekend. So I think you like I said, you think you feel good from the conference perspective. SEC, I think you're up and down after this weekend. Probably your head's spinning a little bit. And, Big Ten pretty much non-factor. ACC, I think you're feeling pretty good about where you are. Louisville, Miami's still alive, got FSU. So I think my point being there's good representation that's spread out across multiple leagues, which is a good thing. I think that's a very healthy thing. I think that's an encouraging thing. So everybody's got some skin in the game, it feels like, and that should make for a fun round. And not to mention the UTSA and, schools that don't necessarily Coastal Carolina get much of the talk, but here they are, and with the big opportunity for them to make even more noise. So I think all of that is absolutely great. And UTSA, what a story. I mean, they obviously did it in the regular season as well, but I mean, they're UT San Antonio, UT Austin's UT. Like UT Austin is that is the flagship, and so for the old Roadrunners to jump up and bite the big brother Longhorns as far as the system goes is an absolutely massive thing for that program. So congratulations. I know we have a lot of football talk when it comes to the Roadrunners and Jeff Traylor and all that, friend of the show, but equally cool to see baseball also doing their thing and flexing their muscles. That's big time for the Roadrunners as a athletics program, but also as a university. So congratulations.
Yeah, I talked by text to Jeff Traylor yesterday evening. Pat Hallmark will join us. He's the head coach at UTSA at 440. He's got some interesting notes we'll pass along. I mentioned Wright State. They were the ones that knocked out the number 1 seed overall in Vanderbilt. Wright State, both the number 1 seeds in baseball and softball, A&M, of course, in softball, eliminated at home without ever reaching the super regional round. Can't believe strength of schedule didn't carry the day. That's from Pat Forty.
Yeah, I want to go back. I sat there and had the LA schools in my head when thinking the Big Ten does have both
UCLA,
the LA schools.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's across the board. It's pretty evenly spread out to my point still, but I just had them. I think I was still thinking about the Pac-12, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, really?
I mean, it kind of was, when I'm thinking of baseball, and I'm not thinking about the Big Ten when I'm thinking of baseball, but that's part of the reason why you loved having those schools, because you got the 2 LA schools that are now representing you in baseball at this point. So I did want to correct myself there, but point still stands that it's a nice even spread. And yeah, I mean, this is the whole theme of the start of the show is you have to play the games, and to see a couple of big time programs in both baseball and softball go down swinging right away, the top seeds, is just a testament to you ultimately got to go out there and play, and you can't just get awarded championships or things like that based off of just the regular season. That's sometimes constituting a regular season championship, and those are cool, I guess, but the postseason championships are the ones that you want. So, really tough for A&M softball and for Vandy baseball, but also very cool for fans who like seeing the upsets and think that everything's already, too tilted and the small schools can't compete or upsets can't happen. It's like, no, that's not true. Here we are. This is prime example of
ACC has 3 teams that have punched their ticket already. Big 12 SEC with 2, Big 10 has 1. Maybe 2 with USC, and then you have American Conference with UTSA, Coastal Carolina, also from their conference is in. Now, there was an interesting back and forth. Southern Miss, really good in baseball. There was a tweet from Barstool, Alabama, and again, it's a fan site. Everyone keep Alabama baseball in your prayers this week. Nothing happened. They just have to spend the weekend in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. This was the response from Southern Miss. Glad we were able to get you out of Hattiesburg as quickly as possible. Prayers for a safe return home after a short stay. I love it when that's the kind of stuff on Twitter that cracks me up. Then there's this from, was it Ben Upton? There's nothing wrong with college baseball teams who build their rosters from the transfer portal and NIL money. But you better be ready to fight the postseason when a team full of players who share meal swipes, tarp their own field, and love each other come to town.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing about baseball. I think that's, and there was a lot of, braggadociousness about the SEC and the 13 teams they got in. And
should have been 14.
Yeah, should have been 14, like all those different things. But baseball is a weird game. You don't have to be the best team ever to win 3 games out of 4. I mean, that's the thing that you've got to do. It's double elimination. So you have to just not lose one time. And so your hot streaks come at weird times and your cold streaks come at weird times. And sometimes the top, just look at any Major League Baseball team. If the Rangers could, this year, could get all their guys on a hot streak for 3 weeks in a row as opposed to 2 guys at a time, they might win that division, but they can't. And that's how baseball goes.
They have pitching, but then you don't have offense.
Yeah, and so you can be all confident walking in, and then Wright State comes and kicks your ass.
Yep.
I mean, just how it goes. That's baseball.
In the end, it might end up being a team that was expected to win it all because the ones that have already punched their ticket are good, plus the ones that have a chance to do it tonight or this afternoon are also good. The College World Series in Oklahoma City, Texas shut out Tennessee 2-0 earlier today. There would have been a Game 3 had Tennessee won, but they didn't. UT will play the winner. survival. No, Texas Tech with a 1-game-to-none lead. Oklahoma has to beat Tech twice tonight to be able to get back to the championship, which they've dominated that. Texas beat them, remember, back early in the tournament. So Oklahoma and Texas Tech, what a great run for the Red Raiders and a chance for them to punch a ticket to play Texas in the championship series starting on Wednesday.
Well, a lot of people thought it might have been crazy to pay a pitcher $1 million, but if you are now knocking on the door of the Women's College World Series final, doesn't sound so crazy now, does it?
I saw a note that 4 or 5 of their players also from the portal from the University of Louisiana, which has had a great softball program. And so it's not just that, but yeah, even then their NIL budget for softball is about 1/3 of some other teams they're having to play in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely money well spent. I mean, that's why you went and invested in a big-time player and put big-time money into them to try and get this very result. So it was exactly how you drew it up if you were those in charge of, that whole orchestration of that deal and spotting her and going after her and bringing her in. Everybody that was a part of that, they can all be pleased with where they are, but there's still a bit of a ways to go. And I think it's awesome for Tech to be in this position. I think it's awesome for the league, the Big 12, to have somebody in this position, especially when you lost the team that will be in the national championship in Texas and you lost the team that's won the last several national championships in Oklahoma. I don't think there's probably any secret there are people out there wondering who care about softball, like, well, that league's screwed. Like they just lost Oklahoma and Texas. Like that's pretty much 2 of the best teams in the entire country. Well, here's Texas Tech. So I think that's a great thing for the league, but it's mostly just great for the Red Raiders. I mean, this is their opportunity. We know the stories of the shortfalls when it comes to major titles like in basketball and the drought of championships in football. They've had success, obviously, in other sports, but not that are, massively on the radar. Now, I won't say softball's on the same level of basketball and football, but I do think it's rising in popularity. And I think given who you would be squaring off against, I think it would be absolutely massive to go and beat Texas to win a national title or just beat anybody to win a national title. You got to get there. You got to get it done, of course, but it's great to see them alive, and they've handled their business very well so far in OKC, so we'll see what happens.
Going back for a second, it does. The last 3 teams right now are former either Big 12 or current Big 12 members with Texas Tech, and what Gary Glasgow's done, their head coach, his first year, 47-12 after he came in, and it's just been a great run. Back to baseball for a second. We will have Pat Hallmark today, the head coach at UTSA, and also Andrew Caridi, the voice of West Virginia. He will join us today in the 4 o'clock hour. There was an incident yesterday in the Coastal Carolina Regional. Florida, which of course has got a great, proud history in a lot of things, including baseball. There was a change in the time of the start time yesterday. Eventually, it was Coastal Carolina beating East Carolina 1-0 to advance to the Super Regionals. But before the East Carolina-Florida game, there was the Florida coach, and there might be much more involved in this than we realize, was very upset about some of the timeline and what was available and when they arrived at the stadium and more. Here is Coastal Carolina head coach Kevin Schnall.
Last thing I have is I have to say this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I believe in standing up for what's right, and what transpired this morning on our field. Another coach disrespected our associate AD, who works as hard as anybody in our entire program. He disrespected our field crew, who are the salt of the earth. These guys would do anything for our program. It's not okay. And this needs to be brought up. Absolutely disrespectful. As a coach, it's our job to mentor young kids. And the way he treated the 2 site reps, the way he treated our associate AD, the way he treated our field crew is absolutely unacceptable. And that's what I'm most disappointed about. This is a national champion coach who thinks he can come in here and try to bully people around. Disappointed. Somebody that a lot of coaches look up to. For him to act that way, really disappointed. He disrespected a Hall of Fame coach who's the site rep here. That's all I got to say.
Kevin O'Sullivan, the head coach at Florida, and that got a lot of play, no question about it. And there was an audio clip. You don't know all the time there. There's a camera everywhere because everybody has a cell phone if they start to record something. But I saw a clip from O'Sullivan in his post game after they were knocked out about the pregame issue, and he said, "I've taken care of it." I don't know what was said to those who ran the tournament at Coastal Carolina, but that's head coach Kevin Schnall. He was obviously very pissed off.
I know what was said to them because there was a video of it happening. What was said to them, for the argument, when he was mad. I don't know what he said to them after, if anything, or if I'm taking care of it means I've kicked this upstairs to my AD and he's going to handle it for me. But yeah, it was a really bad look. And look, if they messed up, okay, they messed up, but the fact that you just go and dress down, the site hosts and especially the young grounds crew guys, like, please, look, you're a national championship winning coach. You got to be better than that.
National champions don't give you a green card to go and be an asshole for no real reason. I mean, you can be upset about a game time being moved, but like you said, the low class to sit there and dress down somebody publicly in front of other people that way seemed very unprofessional. And I don't know much about it. It wasn't something that was much on my radar this weekend, but I did see some of the discussion. I saw some of the video, and I know I walked away with maybe not the full picture, but a very clear opinion that Kevin O'Sullivan acted like a jackass. So I'm glad that was taken care of, and hopefully he can learn from it and be better for it. But, yeah, it seemed pretty uncalled for.
All right, so there's that. Also, that Oklahoma game with 7-2 North Carolina, update on that one. We'll touch on that as we go a couple of different times. So, Kenny Dillingham, who I don't know if we don't get him during Big 12 media days, it means we'll never get him. We've tried, and I know Doug Tamaro, who's their media relations director, is a good dude, but he was there was a note, Pete Nakos, with a quote. You have Clemson this last cycle from 2010 to 20. They just showed up. People think they've been around forever. You have Oregon, 2000 to 2010. There hasn't been this and this and this. In other words, blue blood. You can have a blue blood. Sometimes blue bloods are how long you've been good for 50, 70 years or whatever. Kenny Dillingham, of course I believe we can build something. So should every coach of a program. We are a long way away from this, and the context was about why I want to be at ASU for the long haul. One season proves nothing. It's a marathon, not a race. Sun Devil for life. Kenny Dillingham, head coach at Arizona State.
Yeah, look, and if he buckles in and stays there, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. I mean, I think that's the big question is, do you stay at your alma mater if somebody tries to bowl you over? But yeah, I don't see any reason why Arizona State can't finally start capitalizing on every single good thing they have going for them. Like, outside of it being super hot for a lot of the year, I can't think of a disadvantage of being at Arizona State. The academics are better. School's great. Like, the city's awesome. I mean, if I was trying to build a college, like if I was just creating a video game college and I was trying to make all the things there, what does Arizona State have that I couldn't put in that video game? I don't think anything.
Well, you could always even build a beach somewhere.
I mean, like, other than that, but you're also like, okay, well, maybe, not everybody's a beach person. Some people are desert people and mountain people and all that. Like, it's a pretty great place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually in response to him having to clarify on social media the actual Pete Nakos article, because the Pete Nakos article, he talked about how there's teams that come along every 10 years, like a Clemson, like an Oregon or whoever. And then, of course, Twitter, social media, they just are bored, I suppose, sometimes. Some of these things have become things. I don't understand how anybody has the energy to care about some of these things. And somebody saw a quote of his. It was like, How dare he compare? He's calling himself a blue blood. No, he's not. And he's not.
Nope, he's
but
not.
You're either too dumb to understand that, or you're just that bored. Like I said, you have to be bored to want to troll as often as people do. So he made a very innocuous comment that was basically a couple paragraphs long, talking about how there's these teams that cycle in and become, in the conversation like an Oregon did or like a Clemson. And that was part of the example that you gave. And so then I guess he had to clarify because there was some sort of, reaction to that. And that was what he said. Of course, I should believe we should, what would you want him to say? The opposite? Nope. It's a dead end here. I hope to leave as soon as possible. We have no chance of being successful, unlike Oregon and Clemson. I guess that's what people wanted him to say instead. But he's just propping up his program and saying that he hopes they can be the next team that comes in and is not necessarily that traditional power or whoever, and does become that new cool team. And to his point in the actual quotes, he talks about how he wasn't saying that they were blue bloods per se, even though Clemson, I do believe, is at this point. Oregon is not. But that if you ask 10-year-olds if they're blue bloods, they will say that they are. To a 10-year-old, Oregon's a blue blood. To a 10-year-old, Clemson's a blue blood. To 45-year-olds, they may not be. Mm-hmm. But that's what he was getting at, was that the new cool hip and then get your foot in the door and make some waves and become the next thing. That's what he's talking about. And this is him just doubling down on that, because I guess there was some sort of backlash, which is probably like 2 people in the mentions had an issue with it. But if you're not trying to go into an agenda, you know what he's trying to say. It's very clear that he's just trying to make them the next cool thing. And you know what? He's got a great chance to do that based off these first couple years.
I just took it as why not us? I mean, like,
that's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Why not Arizona State? Why not Arizona State? If you and one of the things that I think probably the people who also got mad have no idea of the lack of effort that Arizona State has put into its athletic department until just recently, comparative to their resources, right? And so now they've got a football coach that's actually in demand. They didn't not to knock Herm Edwards, but nobody was hiring Herm Edwards until Arizona State's like, oh, what the hell? Like Kenny Dillingham, had that job not been open, say Arizona State, was content with where they were and not at the bottom. Kenny Dillingham,
mean like under investigation by the NCAA?
If Kenny Dillingham, wanted to, he could go to he could have gone to a lot of different places in that same cycle. He was a very sought after head coach, and he'll continue to be sought after no matter what. And so all he's saying is this is a chance to build a program pretty much from the bottom up.
No, what he's also saying is there have been teams that have made these runs that were not historically known as any kind of tradition-rich power.
Oregon wasn't, and Clemson maybe had a little bit more history than, say, Oregon or Arizona State does right now. But, from 1980, when Danny Ford won in 1980, but till Dabo Swinney, they were just kind of there. I mean, they were good.
They were kind of like Georgia.
But they were just kind of,
but
they were good, but they could never beat the good teams. And even the early part of Dabo Swinney, like, they would beat everybody they were supposed to beat. And then if it was a toss-up game, they were going to find a way to lose it. Now that doesn't happen anymore because they're a blue blood.
Let's get back to Florida, Arizona State, though.
But so again, it doesn't take a whole lot, other than just direction there.
It takes direction. It takes everybody being up and down the spine of your athletic department and also your university. And so good for Kenny Dillingham also then going on the fact that he clarified it or not. But you can get on a run and all of a sudden put yourself in a conversation that otherwise Arizona State has not been on since Jake Plummer and before that head coach Frank Kush.
Yeah, the people that took an issue with On3 posted, and On3 is definitely they position their social media a certain way. It's very obvious at this point to get a reaction. I know that's like, so you're supposed to do that in a way, right? But like I definitely feel like they can put some stuff out there that they know what they're doing when they put it out there, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And so this was just basically his quote, and said that they could become a blue blood of the 2020s. And then they put part of his quote. And then that's where the reaction came in was, whoever in the comments. And so he responded and quote tweeted that back. And that's when he clarified of course I should believe in all that. It's pretty straightforward, and it's pretty much what you'd want your head coach to say, especially a young, rising head coach in a cool spot in a new league with a new championship and a whole lot of just open air to create whatever he wants to over the coming years in a spot where he can be as long as he wants to, so long as he wins enough, and there's no reason to believe that he won't. So, yeah, there's every reason to believe that there is, I don't know if it's a sleeping giant, but I think everybody agreed that Arizona State was probably the least desirable school of the four, bringing them in based on football. But when you looked at the team that probably could accomplish the most if they ever got their S together, it was Arizona State. And nobody just expected it to happen as fast as it did. So let's see where they take it, but they do seem to have the right football coach in charge, and maybe they were a much greater ad than anybody realized at the time. Time will tell.
It was a distressed asset.
Yeah.
Kim Coulter, and there were some in the chat discussing, is Oregon a blue blood?
No.
And, of course, you know who? The most wins by a program in college football history that has not won a national title. Do you know who that is? West Virginia.
Yeah, I did know that.
And they have
actually
a great history. They really, really do. They've got a lot of tradition, a lot of history, but they have not won yet a national title. You know that's frustrating them a lot.
I think that the blue blood conversation can be pretty subjective, although I think there should be some bare bone rules. And if you have not won a national title, you are not a damn blue blood. I'm sorry. But you cannot be a blue blood if you've not won the biggest prize in the sport. So for Oregon, that's what's missing. If they win one, I think we'll see where they are, because one's still just one, but Clemson's done it often enough now to where they've got, 3 total? Is that what they're at?
One in 1980 or whatever, yeah.
So they've got
81.
The run of Dabo, you had 1980s championship. That all adds up to having the credentials, I feel like, to show up at the door of the club, knock on it, show your championship trophies, and they go, all right, come on in, your all-time wins and all those things. But you got to have the national championship. And if you don't have that, then you can have all the other stuff in the world. And in my opinion, like I said, it's subjective, but in my opinion, if you don't have a natty, then you're not in the club. That's the rule number one of getting in the club, is you better have a national championship.
Well, question, Kim Coulter, can a school lose its status as a blue blood? I can name a bunch of schools that haven't won a natty in 20 years. Yep. Nebraska, they haven't won it in 20 years. 1997, in fact.
This is the subjective part, like I said, but they've got 5 of them, though. And they're still in modern day. So I think they are still very much now. 100 years from now, if they're like the Harvard or the Yale and they've got 20 titles, but they were all 100 plus years ago, then kick their ass out of the club. So those early national champions, just totally different era. There was 3 schools playing. They played once a year, and that was the national champion. Yeah, they've fallen out. But I think if you've won modern day, if you've won multiple, and even if it's been 25 years, Oklahoma hasn't won one in 25 years, but you're going to tell me they're not a blue blood? I mean, they're top 5 in every single category. So I think if you've got 3 or so national titles, then you get to hang around for quite a while. And, so long as you stay relevant, I don't think you get kicked out of the club. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you, Craig. Look, if your team after the national championship year was wiped out by the Spanish flu, let's not talk about that.
Or World War II or
something like that. But if it's happened in the modern era, and
what's the modern era?
I would say about
most people say it's post World War II.
Post World War II. Yeah. Right. I think to make it maybe even more relevant to match it up, it's post desegregation.
So the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, that to me is where you can really fairly compare eras. Because at that point, everybody who could play college football had the opportunity to do it at the levels, that everyone else was. So, I mean, that's where my modern era really starts, to where you can really kind of judge, guys who could play in any era, Jim Plunkett could have played in any era. Billy Sims could have played in any era. Guys like that. Tommy Frazier. You put Tommy Frazier, back in 1918, take his face mask away, he's still the best player ever. You take Jim Thorpe is probably the only one I can think from back that era that I would think would be definite, because he was just the world's greatest athlete. But you put Jim Brown right now. Jim Brown's could win back-to-back Heismans.
There is some good stuff going back and forth in the chat room. Blue blood means that you've done it in the past. It doesn't mean the best right now and every year, because that can be a separation of teams who have a great history and tradition, and yet they've gone through a pocket. Remember Texas when they won it in 05? The last time they'd won was in 1970, but they were all still in that time, they had their ups and downs. They were still considered, without question, as a blue blood program, but then it just took long enough.
And they've played for it 3 times since then. They played in the, 4. I mean, last 2 years, I guess you wouldn't count because of semifinals, but they're in that mix. Oklahoma hadn't won one in 25 years. Nebraska hasn't won one in 30. But they're all top 5, 10 in wins and Heismans and All-Americans and, championships and all sorts of different things. So, yeah, it's as much – it leans more towards tradition than modern day. But I think all of the teams that you would consider blue bloods are still pretty relevant. The ones that aren't would be the ones that you're talking about in a pre-era. Like Minnesota, like all their national titles happened pre-segregation period that you're talking about, Paul, like in the 50s.
As did the military.
As did the military. So, yeah, I wouldn't count them as a blue blood. Now, somebody up in Minnesota does. I guarantee you they do. But, like, modern day, I wouldn't necessarily consider that. But if you wanted to even throw them a bone, fine, whatever. I won't argue with you about it today and right this very moment. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And Oregon's not one right now. But they are as close to being one that's not as you can possibly get. Like, there's nobody ahead of them in line that's more right there, like, close to being one, and they just need that national championship to solidify it than the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, man, they've been knocking on the door, and
But then the question would be, like, even if they win one, does just one mean you're a blue blood? And you know what? That's a fair question, and that's where the subjectivity comes in. But my baseline is I'm not having that discussion until they win the first one, and until that happens, they're not allowed in.
Yeah. All right. So there is that. And that's a discussion we could go on for hours about who is, who's not, what do you need, and also how long of a drought can you have. And many of the blue bloods who are in the conversation or in that door, that club, they've had droughts. Michigan went 7 or 8 decades.
When's Notre Dame's last title?
88.
So they're closing in on 40 years?
88, yep. That's right. With Tony Rice. Was Tony Rice the quarterback with Lou Holtz as the head coach? We have more to get to in college football. There was a timeline that those schools in the Mountain West Conference had to reach to officially withdraw to become eventually a part of the Pac-12. There's a couple of other notes on that. Some athletic director news, too. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men, symptomatic issues of low testosterone. The one that gets a lot of the attention is your lack of sex drive or it just not working the same. Well, that can be a problem. Testosterone is part of that issue. But it could be other things like your focus and energy and just things you're lethargic. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you out. Contact them, PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell them I sent you, and they will set you up to get your blood work. In other words, you'll just draw blood. The results go to Dr. Petty and his staff. He will look at where you are with your level, and if it's too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, used to be, need to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Big with Employee Pricing Plus at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home a new Chrysler Dodge Jeep or Ram with smoking hot deals that slay the competition. Only at Allen Samuels. You're going to love it here.
Come by. Let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow. At Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
The Jeep Celebration event is on at Allen Samuels. Get the luxurious 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer with a huge $13,000 dealer discount plus 0% financing. Big savings, legendary Jeeps at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Man, that blue blood. That's one of those you could be at a sports bar, a tailgate. You could be on this show in the chat room, and you could discuss that forever on who is the cutoff, what is the cutoff line, and what does it mean. I love it. That's why the passion we have to discuss and love college football. The Mountain West Conference teams had until, I think it was June 1st, to make sure that the Mountain West Conference knew that they were leaving. San Diego State and also Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, and Utah State leaving for the Pac-12. They all had to declare that by June the 1st. They did, and now it's just a matter of time before that conference joins together. And, of course, they're still looking for somebody to add to that list to be a part of what Oregon State and Washington State have, too.
I wonder who that somebody's going to be. That last
a lot
team.
I
see a lot of Texas State
a lot
mentioned.
of Texas State is what I see. And I try to, sort through the actual just, noise that's just, that's just noise. It's just, throwing stuff. And even still, sorting through that, it still feels like the only thing I ever see is Texas State. Trying to put a filter on it to really get down to the bottom of it, I still only feel like I see Texas State. So, yeah, that's the only answer I have for you. I guess Tulane's been mentioned, quite a bit in just various circles. And maybe there's a school or two besides that. But those are the ones that I've always heard the most and always seen the most. And Texas State seems like the one that I constantly see at this point. So, yeah.
In fact, the Office fan at Tulane, question mark.
Yeah.
Right
Tulane,
as you were saying that. Yeah.
Tulane's in there as well. But it just seems like and that could be where I am in the state of Texas, that I'm getting fed in my feed more Bobcat stuff because San Marcos is down the road, maybe, rather than seeing more Tulane stuff. I also think it's a fan base in Texas State that's very excited about the possibility of that. And then a lot of fans from the Pac that are very excited about this new conference and feel like it could be, the next greatest thing ever. And for them, it is. It's a gift for the Boise States of the world. It's a godsend for Oregon State and Washington State that they get to keep their conference as opposed to what the alternative might have been for them. So you can see why people are excited about it. You can also see why there's some that are like, you're still not a power there's that part of the argument that inevitably comes into play when those conversations come up. But I think that there's a palpable excitement for that league, whatever it ends up looking like. And I will say too that they are, and I don't know every conference right at the moment off the top of my head, like the back of my hand, but the Sun Belt gets a lot of love these days for how it makes sense. Geographically, rivalry-wise, everybody's there together in the same part of the country. You're playing your rivals. It feels like 5 years ago when everybody was still doing that. And that's the way college sports was when all that stuff did make sense before all the realignment waves kicking off with Oklahoma and Texas in particular. That's what the new Pac-12 is going to feel like. It's going to have all of these teams. Now, Texas State will be an outlier, obviously, because they're still far away, or a Tulane. But for the most part, Oregon State and Washington State are going to have a lot of great opponents that are right there in the Western region that could create some fun rivalries. And I think there's a lot of promise there. I don't think it's going to be, knocking down the doors of the bigger leagues anytime soon. But I do think there's something that's very charming about having that geography intact and having some rivalries intact and having all that to go off of, as opposed to just starting something from scratch with not a whole lot of things that make sense about it. Right. I think that's something that I do like about the new pack that I think will be fun for fans of that league.
What is the common denominator with those teams we just mentioned and the two right now? Oregon State and also Washington State.
They all have state.
Every one of them has state in their name. And Texas
State
Tulane would also fit that, not criteria, but at least that would be a part of it.
But if you told me that the furthest that those teams on the West Coast, the western part of the United States, had to go was San Marcos, Texas for a road trip, I would say that, it's worse than other places.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun little town. It's way more fun when you're like in your late teens, early 20s than any other time.
I'm just talking about the travel for the teams.
Right,
yeah. But
I mean, it's better than going to West Virginia or to Maryland or something like that. Yeah. I mean, you're only going halfway across the country, but for the most part, I mean, you got schools that are all right there in that same region. Now, I know it's a big, wide region, and it's not like everything's super interconnected, so there's still a little bit of travel. But, yeah, compared to what every other league's now doing, not named the Sun Belt, yeah, you're not in Lubbock, Texas, all of a sudden going to Orlando or whatever. Like Texas State would be the outlier, and everything else is pretty much in that same geography. So I do think that'll play into just the tight-knit nature of that league and making it a lot of fun and making it feel like more traditional than the leagues we have now.
I hope they end up getting a good I know that there has been discussion, even some reports about the money they could get as far as the television package. Good luck to them. I hope they all are able to continue on and enjoy having some money too. Chris Pesman, good friend of the show, was at Houston. He now is headed to Arkansas State. Pesman worked at Cal, senior role prior to his time as the AD at Houston. He now has become the AD at Arkansas State.
Good for Pez. Great guy. I'll always love talking to him. He'll do really well there. I guess it was just time at Houston. But
the part about Houston was that, at least that's what was said, is that they were looking for somebody that could find more opportunities for revenue share. Revenue sharing, but revenue being added to the mix.
But he'll do a great job there. Arkansas State's lucky to have him. He'll be great there.
Michigan State hiring Georgia Tech's Jay Batt as their AD. He had also been a chief revenue officer at Alabama. He now will head to Michigan State in East Lansing to take on leading the Spartans athletic department.
Yeah, that's a good get. Jay Batt's a fast riser in the AD industry, and Michigan State they've had a rough for football wise, especially, or AD wise, a rough few years. And if Jay Batt can stabilize that. Look, they've got to fundraise like crazy now. They're in the Big Ten. Like, yes, they have a lot of money, but you've got to keep pace with Michigan, Ohio State. Now you throw in USC and Oregon and Washington into that mix. As far as teams that are like all in on their athletic departments, Penn State, I left them out. So, you got to have somebody who can run with those guys when it comes to raising money.
I mean, every AD hire is just a fundraising hire now at this point. I mean, it feels that way at least. So, if you're not fundraising enough, you're going to probably lose your job. And if you're a great fundraiser, then you're probably going to keep climbing up the ladder. So, looks like Michigan State's found a guy that can fit that ladder and will raise some money so they can stay competitive. But, that's a program that's been, at least football-wise, pretty much an afterthought the last few years. And they weren't that way not that long ago. They were in the mix, but these last, I don't know exactly what it would be, but last 2, 3, 4 years or so, I just feel like I haven't even thought about Michigan State barely at all, unless they were crossing paths with Ohio State or Michigan probably. They just really haven't been all that relevant, quite frankly. So Georgia Tech had a great year. That's a blow for them. I feel like they were kind of getting into a nice little mode of success, and so now you got to go replace an AD. So that sucks. But yeah, I think that seems to be a good paper on hire for people that want him to be able to bring in more money. That's what he does.
As a member of the National Football Foundation, you today received an email for the 2026 Hall of Fame ballot. Remember the last week, the news about coaches' criteria changing from what was a minimum of 60% success. Now, this is Brett McMurphy. He's putting out some of the names that were on the ballot. I voted. Paul voted. You already voted? Now, these are not the only names on the ballot. There are, in fact, 79 names that are on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame. There's also what is another level, the Division II, NAIA, and much, much more, coaches as well. These are just some of the names on the ballot. And I voted, and of that list, I did not vote for Des Bryant. He's not someone I voted for. I don't think I voted for Antoine Randall L. I know he was a fantastic player at Indiana, but those are just some of the names. There's many of them. It's a tough deal. So that was done today, or at least it started. The voting started today.
Yeah, I did. Of the people listed on that list, I voted for Mark Ingram and Sebastian Janikowski.
Homer.
I'm Percy Harvin. I voted for Percy Harvin.
If you can't pronounce the kicker's last name, you cannot vote for him.
Really not that hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Janikowski.
Janikowski.
Spelled out exactly the way you pronounce it.
Yeah, and he's the best kicker in the history of college football. And there will never be another. I'll die on that hill.
That's a good debate.
I'll die on that hill.
That's a good debate. Well, you would, because he's a Florida State Seminole.
But
I did not vote. I'm looking at my ballot. I did not vote for Bieniemy or Des Bryant.
Now, I do have
Mark Ingram. I did not vote for him.
I mean, is there a cap on how many guys y'all could vote for?
20. 12.
Just said 12. Two separate.
Yeah.
Which 12, is it? 12 or 12?
It's 12 in this.
2 coaches in the FBS and then 4 players at the next level.
I voted for Larry Coker and Chris Peterson. Larry Coker, because he didn't build it, but he certainly had to rein it in. And he before he was a head coach, he was one of the best defensive coaches in the country. I voted for Larry Coker and Chris Peterson. My other homer picks were RG3 and Terrence Newman.
I voted for Terrence Newman. I did.
Yeah, I voted for all the guys
that are obvious.
I voted for all the guys who were.
Did you vote for Kellen Moore?
No, I voted for Ken Dorsey instead of Kellen Moore.
How?
2001 Miami.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I mean, clearly you kind of are.
No, how do you vote? Kellen Moore retired as the leading all-time wins leader in college football I think Colt McCoy may have broken that, and then it's been broken again.
I could only pick 12, so I put them into categories, and I picked Josh Heupel as well.
I did too.
Yeah.
So you were trying to think I didn't, did you?
No, but I mean, you're the one kind of edgy about this, but I picked Cam Newton because he won the Heisman. I picked RG3 because he won the Heisman. I picked Mark Ingram because he won the Heisman. I picked Courtney Brown because he's one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. I picked Ndamukong Suh.
Penn State's defensive lineman.
I did not vote for Peter Warwick because I picked Percy Harvin over him.
Good for you. I picked.
Yeah.
I think Peter Warwick.
I think Peter Warwick deserves to go in, and I think Kellen Moore deserves to go in. But if I'm having to pick between, I put the people in the categories, it came down to Percy Harvin and Peter Warwick, and as badass as P-Dub was, man, Percy Harvin. All you need to see is Florida won those national titles with him, and then the year after. If you watch their offense, even though they won a bunch of games, it just did not look the same. Tebow dominated. They were really good. But the thing I think that was the X factor that year before to me on that Florida offense was not Tim Tebow, who was great, but it was Percy Harvin, who nobody could figure out what to do anything about.
What happened to him in the NFL?
He had migraine headaches and they wouldn't let him smoke weed.
Yeah.
He would probably be way more successful now because they don't care.
No, that's true. He was an awesome talent. I did vote for George Cumbie from the days of back in the 70s when Oklahoma had those dominant defensive teams.
And I voted for Manti Te'o because he was a linebacker who got to the Heisman finalist.
Okay.
I mean, he was the second best player in the country that year, and that's not something that happens all the time.
He was a hell of a player at Notre Dame. I didn't even blink with him. Not at least yet. Again, there'll be new names next year and so on. Coaches: Chris Peterson, Boise State; Gary Patterson, TCU.
Yeah, I mean, it was between.
There wasn't really a great list, in my opinion, of the FBS coaches.
No. Ralph Friedgen was great at Maryland, but I don't know if they really did anything to deserve that. Tommy Tuberville, I don't think deserves it. Larry Coker wouldn't have had he not, had that national championship trophy. As a matter of fact, I should have probably just voted for Chris Peterson and Gary Patterson, but maybe I'm a little bit swayed by the 0-1 Miami thing. So
it depends on how you look at it. It's
Butch Davis is the head coach that built the team, but he was there the whole time, and then when Butch Davis kind of abruptly left, he took over, and I mean, there's a lot of egos in that room. They're the best football team ever.
Manage him, yeah.
And he did it, and they won. I mean, he knew how to do the right thing. Plus, he helped launch the program at UTSA, which I think is a really, really hard thing to do. And he did that in 2006 or 7, something like that.
Not sure.
And so, to launch a Division I football program after 2000.
Now, if you would have launched the baseball program, that would be different.
But it's Jeff Traylor has that job right now because of Larry Coker. So. Yeah, I mean, that's why I voted for him.
On the divisional players, my 4 names that I voted for, you may, if you're older like me, may remember them. Ashley Ambrose, Keith Elias, Randy Page, and Tyrone Poole.
Mine were Ashley Ambrose, Tyrone Poole, Carl Boyd, and Sean Landetta.
Sean Landetta, the kicker who played for the Giants eventually, right?
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we will have the 4 o'clock hour and a text or two that I had earlier today and a response I had to it today that we'll discuss the college football landscape. And then later on, we will hear, as I mentioned earlier, the voice of West Virginia baseball. Remember Tony Caridi, we've had him on many times, does a great job with many things basketball and football at West Virginia. His son is the play-by-play voice. And then, yes, Hallmark, the head coach at UTSA on their spectacular weekend. Moving forward, they play UCLA next. And this is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35. This could have nothing to do with the fact it's inside of a football stadium, but that is the location. If you have something, a meeting, business symposium, luncheon, special speaking engagement, you can load it up inside the Baylor Club. They have all the amenities, all the space you need, and all of what you need. If you also are going to have food, a buffet, they do it because they have 2 unbelievable chefs that are just incredible along with the staff. We hosted our annual Academic All-Stars banquet back a couple of weeks ago, and everything was flawless. The setup, the podium, the table at the top, the speaker system, all of the tables, and the food, and how quickly people were able to move through the lines. The double-barrel buffet was great, too. You can contact Taylor Rohn or others who are involved at the Baylor Club. The Baylor Club, memberships available inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
The Office fan asked this question in the chat. Do you think, I don't think it will happen, but do you think that Stanford and Cal would be tempted to go back to the Pac-12?
No.
Not right now. There's not enough ammunition that goes with being in the Pac-12. They're not a power conference, and I know that the whole power label can be debated this way and that way. I know the reaction, actually. Somebody in California probably right now will say, well, the ACC and the Big 12 aren't, it's the Power 2, it's not the Power 4, and they're delusional if they think they still have autonomy. They still have a say in matters. It's not the ultimate say, mind you, but it's still more than what basically everybody else has. So the Pac no longer has that, and because of that, they would be going to a less desirable position as much as it would be more desirable geographically. I also think there'd be the whole to-do with maybe not so much Stanford, and maybe Stanford seems to me to be the Big Ten versus the Cal's SEC in certain types of arguments. Cal is overtly obnoxious and arrogant about certain things, and kind of we're not going to play with the unwashed masses over here, like their total rejection of even the idea of the Pac and the Big 12 forming up. I don't know where Stanford sat on that, probably somewhere close to Cal, but I think they would not, by saying that, they would not want to go join San Diego State and all these schools that they feel are below them is basically what I'm getting at. I feel like that would be a huge hurdle for Cal or Stanford to both want to go over, and to do so this quickly would be like a whammy they would not want to deal with. And plus, there's just no reason to do it right now. But as to your question, there's 10,000 reasons why the answer is no at this very moment.
Or a million,
or where there's actually millions of reasons. There's millions of reasons. There's lots of reasons. But just on the surface of what I think you're getting at, like the geography and all that kind of stuff, let's see where we are in like 5 years, when all the new TV deals come up, and let's see what it all looks like. But yeah, I say no time, anytime soon, no reason for them to go back whatsoever, other than just the longing of shorter road trips. That's about it.
You wonder what's within the halls of the administration and the board, how many of them, because in some cases they have rich history, and yet again, you wonder that they're put off by where we are now when it comes to athletics and NIL and the transfer portal at places like Stanford and Cal. Good question, though, but I'm glad we brought it up to discuss here on the show today. Now, let's see. Gary Patterson was a good coach, but not even I'd vote for him. Depends on the day, I guess. He's pretty damn good. his record compared to all the others. Paul, you saw the list. Would you not agree when you look at all the other ones on there? I know you didn't vote for him. That's fine.
I'll vote for him next year.
All the other ones that he was.
He'll be on the ballot next year. Like all the guys that like Flo Zellado has been on the ballot for like 4 years.
Yeah,
and he keeps getting, and he was a really good player. I had to look, one of the guys I wanted to vote for player-wise was Simeon Rice. And I was like, I came down to him and Courtney Brown and kind of flipped a coin. I mean, it's like they're kind of the same dude in college. They were just dominant, crazy, quarterback records. So with Gary Patterson, I think I picked Chris Peterson, who built up Boise State into what they are right now. He wasn't the only one, but really he helped them take the next step. And then I picked Larry Coker because of Miami, but I'd vote for him next year. I mean, he again, very much like Chris Peterson in Boise State. That's what Gary Patterson is to TCU.
His winning percentage nearly 80%.
He's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He is absolutely a Hall of Famer. He's just not necessarily an early ballot Hall of Famer. But yeah, Gary Patterson will be in the Hall of Fame. I personally have not necessarily been the biggest fan, but I'm not somebody who is like a baseball Hall of Fame writer where I'd say, oh, I'm not going to vote you in out of spite like baseball writers do and have done for decades. That's not the way it's supposed to work. So, yeah, I would vote him in without thinking twice about it. But I can see if there's a logjam of other guys that are maybe as deserving and they're older, then you go ahead and put them in first.
Yeah, Chris Peterson, nearly 80% win percentage. Patterson's next, nearly 70%, and nobody else really above around 65%. So we were going back and forth. I was going back and forth with a college baseball coach who also played in Major League Baseball. We're asking about the pull away, eventually that Super League, so to speak, or whatever else that we might see down the road. This was the text. The NCAA is a business, but the SEC is the bell cow. There's no breaking news there, although the Big Ten would argue a little bit about that. If it grows to 30 schools, does it still need the NCAA or does it become the main event in college sports? My response was a 30 to 40 team breakaway, which has been discussed. A lot of it is more, will this happen? Can't deliver a true national champion. Too many programs just along for the ride, carried by a dozen or so elite schools. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's where the idea of like the real Super League kind of hits the wall of, if you're really going to do it, then you have to, break off all these things and these teams that have been supporting you. Like, if you're the Big Ten, SEC, like any of these conferences, that have had these schools together, what have the ones that have never done national championships done to you as a league to deserve to get, cut off at the knees? Like if you, and then I understand that like teams left, but if you're going to do that, like, why would you hurt the voting block of people who have supported you all that time? They're always kind of in lockstep. So I think that's part of the problem. And then there's, like you said, Smokey, there's a lot of teams that are along for the ride, because they just don't have that same kind of organizational goal that Georgia does, and I don't know. I think it's just too complicated to do, but yeah, if they went to 40 teams, they wouldn't need anybody but themselves.
I mean, it could definitely happen and they can consider it the true national champion, but I think a lot of people like myself would not consider it that. And I think there would be enough of that type of blowback that it would probably feel a little wonky and tainted and not exactly you accept it and these are the champs and this is how it's going to be. I think there'd be a lot of pushback on it initially, and maybe like the whole soccer league concept, the concept that got shot down almost immediately because it was basically just a blue blood invitational, and then, you be happy with the rest of your opportunities. And this is kind of what they're trying to almost go for, except there's a lot of schools that, like you said, are along for the ride and don't necessarily deserve it just because they were in a conference. I don't know that there are in both those leagues a unanimous amount of schools that are spending and trying as hard as an Arizona State is, or an Iowa State, or a Texas Tech, or someone like that. So I think for those teams to just get in because they were in the right place, right time with the right people 100 years ago, so they get to compete for a title versus the people that are actually really trying to go and do it and not ride coattails, I think that's an iffy national championship. Even if you have like the top 20 programs. I think if you're going to do the whole split off thing, I've said this from the very beginning, if you're doing a true split off Champions League, this and that, you have to earn your way, and it's not just by association with the conference. Champions League, you are it's by association in that you have to be in one of the designated leagues, but you also have to finish at a certain spot. The whole crushed Champions League concept, or the super duper Champions League, I forget what they were even going to call that thing. That was like, hey, if you're Arsenal, no matter how good or bad you are, you're in because you're Arsenal. So it'd be like Minnesota won 10 titles. They get to be in because they're in the Big Ten, and that's the reason why, versus they're actually competitive and actually, trying to be champions. So, yeah, I think there'd be too much of that. The real champions concept, if you wanted to break it off, would have to be the teams that are actually fighting for it and the teams that deserve to be there and have earned it, not you are just in this league and so you get to be in it. To me, that would ruin it for me to declare it as like the rightful national champion. Now, TV networks and conference commissioners might disagree, but I think I'm in a camp that's just as strong as the other side of the fence, and I feel like that's where the big hang-up is for that.
A question in the chat from Wet Blanket, one of our great Oklahoma State fans. Des Bryant Smokey, no, you didn't include him. He was he was great. He had one really good year, and of course he left early, basically had to. He had the 87 catches, nearly 1,500 yards and 19 touchdowns one year for Oklahoma State. He was fantastic. But the other 2 years combined, 43 catches, 622 and 6, and 17, 323 and 4. Perhaps if he played one more year, he still may get in at some point to the College Football Hall of Fame. But by being forced out because of that, what was the lunch with Dion, dinner with?
And Eugene Parker.
He lost a year, which probably would have made a huge difference in what I look at when it comes to Des.
Also, just for anybody who would just go look at the whole ballot, and then they tell you to pick 12 guys.
There's
and
76 names.
You could easily just rubber stamp the first 12 and feel good about yourself. Yep. You could just go alphabetically for the first 12 and then do that. I mean, but it's hard to do because you start going, all right, well, who do I want to vote for based on that? Wet Blanket you can join the National Football Foundation and vote. I mean, it's not I don't know if you can, but writers, they're an organization. So if you want Des Bryant in, talk to somebody about it.
All right, there we are with that. One other note that I wanted to get to. Where was it? I had the rundown. Sorry, I lost track of the rundown. Right here in front of me. I'm the one that prints it. Or no, you guys print it. I'm the one that puts it out there. We had a gathering Friday night with the ownership of Rogue Media Network that bought us a little over a month ago. Appreciate the Valade family. Also, Corey Dickman, his wife, put on a it was really neat. Hamburgers, camaraderie, fun, just discussion, kind of got away from business a little bit, but I wanted to make sure we reached out and said thank you to the Valade family for hosting us out at their beautiful place just outside of Waco on the north side, about 15 miles.
You got to hold a baby, Smokey.
Yeah, for one quick 20, 30, maybe 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Started panicking a little
Craig
bit.
passed, right?
I never got offered.
Oh, you never got offered?
No.
Okay. Would you have passed?
No.
Okay.
I'm not anti-baby or anything.
You guys got to practice.
Yeah. I got, knock on wood, everything stays good. And, I'm going to have a niece coming pretty soon. But I'm just very nervous in talking about it. I don't want to jinx anything, But, I should hopefully, God willing, have plenty of opportunities. But, I just never got the opportunity. I want to say on the Des thing real quick, I do think if he had played another year, he would be in, and it wouldn't even be a question. Yeah. I think he could still probably get in years down the line, but there is a matter of a voting total that you have to, you can't just vote for 50 guys all at once. But that whole ending to his career, though, really taints what it should have been. I mean, it totally ruined what should have been a no doubt Hall of Fame career. And now there is a doubt of did he ultimately do enough. But, we had a great time on Friday. Beautiful house there that the Valades have, and very excited about our new ownership. And I think we've felt the breath of fresh air over the last month plus, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff. I see at various podcasts. We got a lot of cool stuff coming around the corner. But we really do, though. I can say we really actually do. I'm not just saying that. And me, I'm not going to say something if I don't really mean it. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming. And the new ownership coming in was a godsend and just great timing. And yeah, we're thrilled with the change and thrilled about all the plans ahead, and had a great time on Friday night, and building a little bit of camaraderie, as you said, is probably something we should do more of. And it was great to just be around everybody on Friday. So yeah, that was a good time.
What Blanket with the NIL, the way it is today, you can't hold that against him. It's not about that. It sucked. He did not play what would have been another year and probably would have duplicated the 87, 1,500, and 19. It's not about his talent. It's just the fact that if you look at his overall resume, he will eventually perhaps get in, and maybe because he's a very popular name and very, very much out there when it comes to being visible. But he didn't. He had one great year, and it would have been nice to see another year if he could have. Well, I wish he would have, and then there would have been no doubt about it.
We can't assume what would have happened. Like nobody else. Like we can't assume. Like what would have happened if they had another year? There's a lot of guys who went to the NFL early anyway, if they, if so-and-so his team had gone to the NFL, the team would have won the national championship the year after. We don't know any of that.
It has nothing to do with NIL or if he got a dinner from Dion or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's not why.
I know what he's saying though. He's looking at like Reggie Bush's Heisman and how that counts now, but it's not a black to black or white or black to white comparison, or I think it's a black to white comparison, and that they're not exactly the same. But I understand where you're coming from, Wet Blanket. I don't think anybody's anti-Dez. It's just a matter of there's plenty of reason for people to go, yeah, that last season kind of that's the hang up. And so for some people, he won't get in right away, and then ultimately maybe that dies down and he gets in because he had such a massive sophomore year and he had a really good freshman year. But he just got kneecapped in that junior year, and so that leaves a lot of question marks. But I get where you're coming from with it's a different era, but it's not really about that with Dez. He's not getting in because he met with Dion and the agent. He's not getting in because his career feels sort of incomplete.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's a great question or a comment from Office Fan. If Dez had won a national title that year, would he have been more of an argument?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I mean,
at Oklahoma State, that'd be a hell of a thing to have on your resume that not a lot of people would. So, I mean, maybe that would push it a little bit further. But I don't know that it would guarantee him on this ballot with all of the other names. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Like you've got so many names and only so many spots, so there is a limitation that automatically comes into play. But yeah, I mean, that would take his resume up another notch and would definitely expedite the process if he was a key cog in winning a national title, which obviously Oklahoma State was flirting with.
Question from Fish. How do you judge players that are great but only played 1 year, like a Cam Newton, or only had one good year? Well, I brought up the Dez 1 year. Dez would have been, if they would have 14 names, he would have been in my list. He's right there on the edge. It's a great question.
Well, I voted for Cam Newton because in that year, he won the Heisman and the national title. So, it was a year. So that's – I felt that was kind of one of those ones you can't argue with. Now, had he not done either of those,
because that's why you voted for Larry Coker.
Yeah,
because he also won
because
a national
of that. Because it's so hard to do, given all the factors that are in it. And Cam won the Heisman and the national title, and then went and became the first pick in the draft, all in that year. So again, you take away those two things, the Heisman and the national title. Cam Newton would sit there kind of floating out on the ballot for me, like. Well, I mean, that was a badass year, but somebody else did those things.
I don't know the rules on voting for someone also like Cam Newton, who I did vote for because he also won a national title in junior college, at Blinn Junior College. I don't know about whether, because that would have been the other, if he would have been just that and not Auburn, then he would have been a part of that other divisional type vote for players. All right, when we come back, he's the voice of West Virginia baseball. And he's next. We will have, and here on the Mountaineers, what a run they had over the weekend. Andrew Caridi next on 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
I tell you what, that last segment and open, we'll have a guest here in just a second, as I mentioned, but a lot of you with some great questions. And what I liked about it is that even if you didn't agree with any of our opinions, it didn't turn into like a rah. It was no hill to die on, as Wet Blanket mentioned, but we appreciate a lot of you and a lot of the questions that you provided for us, too, as far as a part of the segment that we had. Oklahoma and North Carolina. Carolina is at 8-2 now. They've popped that thing open. And you might see today in that regional final, the winner moves on to the super regional. There are at times, because teams are a little bit gassed, where you might see a 15-12 or a couple of high-scoring games because the pitching staff is just worn out and the arms aren't there today with those games where people are trying to punch their ticket into the super regionals.
Yeah, North Carolina's super good. Oklahoma, if this is the one regional, if I was, I looked at it, man, I wouldn't want to be in this one. Nebraska was in this regional.
They got their asses kicked twice by OU beat them like 30-2 overall.
Yeah, and, it was tough. But, again, North Carolina is really deep. I think they've got a great shot at winning the whole thing. So, they're going to be a tough out no matter, where they go. And but maybe it's good for, team coming in to play them that they had to pitch an extra day this week. So.
I'm not sure exactly about the super regional matchups. I haven't looked that far ahead, but looking forward to that too. By the way, somebody asked about why would Oklahoma, if they win tonight, play Texas? They have to win twice tonight in softball. We're going back to the College World Series up in Oklahoma City. They've already lost. They lost to Texas, remember?
But North Carolina will play Arizona, by the way. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the College World Series in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma has to beat Tech twice if they're going to play Texas in a best-of-3 series. And if Tech wins once tonight, first or second game, they're headed to play the University of Texas for the national title.
And then it's in the championship round is what? It's
best
reset.
of 3.
Yeah, reset.
No matter who's beaten anybody, Tech has not played Texas, at least in the World Series. Even though Texas beat Oklahoma to get into where they are, to win yesterday, that game doesn't count. It's a best-of-3. It starts all over again on Wednesday.
Well, I saw an interesting story on Najee Kennedy, and obviously she's known as the $1 million softball star for Texas Tech. And it was interesting that apparently she's been dealing with pretty severe injury for going on a while now. So to have the success that she's having and to not even be 100%, which I'm sure a lot of people aren't at this point, but it was just something I came across, and I've tried to find it earlier when we were talking about it, and I don't know what's up with the good old X, but could not find the original tweet that I was looking for. So I'll try to get back to that at some point. But yeah, she's dealing with injuries, just really basically making her performance that much more impressive. And yeah, money well spent. Great player, seems to be a great teammate, and they're in a nice spot there. As far as having this opportunity now, beating Oklahoma's easier said than done, and to beat them would be a massive deal for the Red Raiders and get a spot to play for the national title. But yeah, that ought to be a hell of a game. Tech and OU, and then whichever one advances. I mean, they're going to have their work cut out for them because Texas is very good in their own right. So yeah, some really good softball for fans of the sport that's been occurring, but definitely as we get whittled down to these final three teams, it's going to be some damn good softball.
Texas is going to make their third appearance in 4 years in the final. Of course, Oklahoma has dominated it. Yeah,
they seem due for a title. Oklahoma's ran that show for a while. I mean, Tech could play the ultimate spoiler. That'd be incredible. But it does feel like if you had to pick right this very moment, I mean, Texas is sitting there waiting basically. And yeah, they've been knocking on the door the last few years. So maybe this is the year they finally break through, or maybe Tech plays Cinderella all the way, or maybe Oklahoma just stays dominant. But I know one thing, if they don't win tonight, or if they can't beat Texas and get beat by them a second time, look, you've been on a great run, but that'll be a tough pill to swallow. Then again, though, you've had an incredible run of national championship wins and come from behind victories and all sorts of things over the last few years. So it's got to stop at some point, right? But they're still in the mix, so until they're dead, I'm not going to count them out.
I mentioned the Tech earlier in the show that Texas Tech softball was 47-12, and Kim Coulter immediately reminded me, no, they're 52-12 because of the wins that they've had in the postseason. Texas 54-11, and they again will play the winner of whoever tonight, whether it's Texas Tech and or Oklahoma. I like the way they do the brackets, where you can. It's not. It is, but it's not the double elimination part of it. And then if you can get to the finals, then everything, as I said, is wiped out and you start all over again. So that does make it neat, because there have been some tournaments, and I don't know if it's 10, 12, 15, or 25 years ago, where it seemed like nobody was ever dead in the water. It just lasted forever and ever. And so they broke them into different brackets, and that's what we'll have based on tonight, Texas Tech. Good luck to the Red Raiders. Oklahoma trying to win it for how many years in a row? 5? Be 5 in a row?
Yeah.
5 in a row if they end up winning the national title. Still nothing with Andrew?
Nope.
All right, he said he's trying to get on the camera. Do you have his number?
I found the Kennedy tweet. She has a torn hamstring she's been dealing with, so there's what I was looking for, and that came courtesy of Ari Temkin, actually, our buddy John Lennon. Ari Temkin had that via Jerry Glasgow over on TuneIn Radio. So she apparently is not, according to him, Texas Tech softball star Najee Kennedy played the season with a hamstring tear for 9 weeks, has not had a bullpen session for 12 weeks this season. So, yeah, just providing a little context to her pretty incredible run, and it's even more impressive when you take that into consideration.
That is a very painful injury.
Yeah.
Very painful.
Especially all the torque on her body when she's throwing every single pitch. I just can't. Yeah, she's a tough one, that's for sure.
All right, we're now joined by the voice of West Virginia baseball. The Mountaineers bully themselves into the regional and on to the super regional round. Andrew Caridi, voice of West Virginia. Andrew, thank you very much for your time. I mentioned a minute ago, sometimes in these tournaments, if you're not deep with pitching, you're going to end up in a slugfest, and sometimes you just got to find a way. How dramatic was it with West Virginia winning and moving on into the super regional?
Regional final, you come back from 5 runs twice in one game to win a title, a regional title, I think is as dramatic as it gets, right? I mean, this is not like a comeback victory in the middle of the regular season. It's not a comeback victory at the beginning of the year. I think even the postseason tournament is a little bit different, right? Because like everybody is a little bit spent at that point. But this is for all the marbles. So I think when you look at comebacks in any sport in West Virginia history, I think this one has got to be up there, right? Feels good to get it done against Kentucky and move on. You sweep back-to-back regionals for West Virginia feels really good.
To beat Clemson and Kentucky both twice without having to worry about playing out of the losers bracket, how much did that, or I guess no, Clemson, I've looked at the Kentucky score,
right.
Having to beat Clemson and then the Kentucky without having to play out of the losers bracket, how much did that help them?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it puts you in the king seat, right? That's the word that you get, and that's the position that you get if you go 2-0. So pitching absolutely, it ultimately decides the regional, I think. So you don't have to play that extra game and burn arms. And for West Virginia, that is specifically important. You got good length out of Jack Cartsonas, who was your Saturday starter, and good length out of Griffin Kern, who started Friday, beat Kentucky originally. Gave up 3 runs. West Virginia ended up winning that game 4-3. But not only did you win those games, but you set yourself up perfectly for pitching. And it wasn't pretty. I don't know if you guys had caught the game at all against Kentucky in that regional championship yesterday on Sunday. But a lot of pitchers were used. I think 17 combined between the two teams, almost a 5-hour game. At that point, you're so deep into the season and you're so deep into the regional tournament that you're just looking for guys to throw strikes. And West Virginia fortunately found a combination that, it was 13-12. Wasn't a pitcher's duel, but it ultimately did the trick.
Yeah, it was an insane game, and man, what a rush that had to be to finally finish that one off. Andrew, for those who are going to go jump on the bandwagon and follow along, what's been kind of the story? How would you summarize this season for West Virginia and just their ride here from the beginning to Big 12 champs and now still sticking around trying to play for a natty?
Yeah, I think a lot of unanswered questions at the beginning of the year, right? First-year head coach Steve Sabins, who had been with the program. This is his 10th year with West Virginia, first year as a head coach. Was that success going to be sustained? Was Randy Mazey kind of the secret sauce that worked? The big question was Sabes had been the recruiter, right? He'd done all the roles for West Virginia coming into this season, but was he able to make those on-field calls that Randy Mazey was so good at in his career? And we quickly learned West Virginia winning 13 games in a row, 14 games in a row in the Big 12 conference that, yeah, I think this is going actually really well. Really effective out of the portal, getting Griffin Kern, a D2 guy from Quincy, to come in and be your Friday night starter. And West Virginia did the exact same thing last year with Derek Clark, taking him from a lower level and making him a Division I starting pitcher. Jace Reinhardt, who is at USC Upstate, who is also at the Clemson Regional, leads West Virginia in doubles and RBI. He's from North Marion, which is basically 30, 40 minutes from Morgantown. He's your cleanup hitter and carried you most of the way. And also senior leadership, massively important. You got a lot of upperclassmen who have been here the entire way that has been a part of this most successful 3-year run in the history of West Virginia baseball in the modern era, right? So you got the Logan Saves, the Sam Whites, the Grant Hussies. All these guys have been a part of West Virginia playing absolutely elite baseball and playing for championships. They, the senior class specifically, have won 2 Big 12 championships in the last 3 years. So I think when you combined everything, you were a little unsure of what it was going to look like, but you quickly learned that, everybody knows what it takes to win here, and you got the recipe for it. You kind of fell down a little bit. Obviously, every baseball team has its struggles, right? Mountaineers lost 7 of their last 9 going in to the NCAA tournament, but we were kind of formulating it it's not exactly going well after you get swept by Kansas at home. You still won a Big 12 championship. But everybody knows you turn that page to the NCAA tournament, all bets are off. Everything's different. We saw Vanderbilt lose. We saw Texas lose at home, the 1 and 2 seeds. All bets are off, and West Virginia found its footing.
Am I right, Andrew, that there was a time when Randy Mazey was there as the head coach when he first took over, that West Virginia was using multiple places to play, that they were trying to find different locations as they were trying to figure out the facilities and commitment to baseball?
That's right. Yeah, you played at Charleston, it's now the Gomar Ballpark, but you were bouncing around a little bit. Hollyfield, Gomar Ballpark, finding places to play, and the coincidence of Kendrick Family Ballpark, Mon County Ballpark at the time, being there for Randy Mazey to develop the program. Ren Baker, athletic director of West Virginia, says it is the most "if you build it, they will come" example he's ever seen in his life. It's the coolest thing ever. We've seen the fan base, the baseball program, the stadium, and the excitement for baseball grow all simultaneously at the same time. So yeah, we were literally going from places where you didn't have a dugout. There were porta potties for Augie Garrido in Texas when they came to play here when they were still in the Big 12 first year, right? At the field. So yeah, it's been quite a change.
So I assume that everybody in Morgantown is rooting for Little Rock today, because then you wouldn't have to leave Morgantown. But I know that like playing LSU's no picnic, but you get to go to the box, which is college baseball heaven there. Andrew, what are your thoughts on how the University of the City will be watching that game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, an unprecedented level of excitement and hype, right? It was cool to listen to the players, prior to the Kentucky game, say like, I wish we were playing in front of 6,500 like we did at Kingsmore Stadium when we played Clemson. And with Clemson eliminated by Kentucky, it was obviously a way smaller crowd, and they were looking forward to playing in that again because that had been the highest attendance that West Virginia had played in all season. So I think that's something that this team embraces, right? They want that stage. They embrace that stage. They got enough leadership. They got enough direction. Even from the young guys like Gavin Kelly, the freshman, was the one who told me that. Like, he's the one looking forward to doing that type of thing. So it would be a really once in a long time thing if West Virginia was able to host the Super Regional here in Morgantown. Obviously, I think that is a very far-fetched possibility just because it's David and Goliath, and I think you shrink David a little bit. All the credit to Little Rock. But no, I think even if you end up going to LSU, same type of thing. I mean, you embrace the moment. It's one of those baseball chapels, so to speak, and it'll be really fun regardless. I mean, I don't think anybody loses outcome-wise.
You mentioned they lost 7 of 9, 9 of 13. They got blown out by Arizona in the Big 12 tournament. What was going on? They got shut out, I think, at least once or twice in that stretch. Was it just, as you said, the schedule in baseball, you're going to go through a funk, or what was it, something else?
No, listen, man. I mean, like you guys know baseball, teams have slumps. And I think that naturally happens. I also think, like, take Kansas, for example. They were swept by Cincinnati at home. West Virginia swept Cincinnati at Kendrick Family Ballpark. That wasn't the first time that Cincinnati got swept on the season, right? And that was the first time West Virginia got swept when Kansas beat them. So it's not baseball math. Since I travel with a team, I kind of have an understanding of how rigorous it can be. I think I've seen the team kind of wear down, as all teams do towards the end of the season, because it's every other week. You're leaving Thursday at 7 o'clock from the bus, going to the Pittsburgh airport. You're basically spending an entire day traveling from like 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and then they go on to practice, right? You eventually do that, and that eventually wears you down a little bit. And baseball is a very like energy-focused sport where you're always going to have lulls, and then you take that towards the end of the season. It's not totally shocking that happened, right? But you get rid of the midweek games. You take some time to rest up like we did before the regional. I think everybody's got a chance to get healthy and kind of refreshed a little bit, and that's good that West Virginia was on that side, kind of encouraging to see that.
The Big 12 had a nice contingent of teams make the tournament. I know that they would like to have had a better year overall. I mean, there were some classic teams that are usually good, like Tech, that was just terrible this year. And that happens. But overall, how well do you think the conference grind prepared West Virginia or any other Big 12 team, for what they're seeing, especially West Virginia, since they're on to the Supers?
Yeah, I mean, I think Big 12 teams just beat up on each other throughout the entire season. I mean, take a look at the standings. You've got like only a couple of games between like the 3rd, 4th place team and the teams that are maybe in 10th, right? Every team can beat every team. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's like when West Virginia was winning 14 games in a row, they swept 4 series in a row against the likes of, the Houstons, the UCFs, teams that are a little on the lower rung. But you look at like what Arizona did against them, swept Cincinnati, for example. You look at what those teams did against the higher teams that are with West Virginia, like the Arizonas and TCU. Those teams were taking 2 of 3 from Arizona. Those teams were taking 2 of 3 from TCU. So every team has a chance to beat you no matter what. And so West Virginia, I think, was obviously pretty fortunate, but also kind of is a testament to how well they were able to play by sweeping those teams. Sweeps are hard, and to do 4 of those in a row, that's obviously never happened in program history. Big 12 obviously didn't have that marquee program that most conferences have, right? But there's a ton of parity, and I think that goes a long way and has to put you at your best if you want to contend for a championship and obviously make a deep run of the postseason.
Andrew, good luck. Appreciate your time. We'll be watching what happens the rest of the day. And tell your father, Tony, we said hi. Appreciate it. Congratulations on what you're doing. And, man, you've done soccer, volleyball, baseball, basketball. Those are a lot of like pace sports that you gotta do what you're doing. You're doing a good job of it. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Andrew Caridi, voice of West Virginia many sports, including the baseball team on their way into the Super Regionals.
Yeah, it's a great story. It was an insane game, insane comeback, and a lot of fun.
6 runs in the 8th. Yeah.
Yep. Had another big inning prior to that to counteract what Kentucky had started off with. Right, they got out to the early lead. West Virginia responded, but then needed the big punch there late to stay alive. And incredible game. I think just softball and baseball, it's not one of those things. I don't know if you're ever going to get people on board outside of just like the built-in fans already of following those start to finish, the way you follow football or maybe even basketball. But damn, man, when you get to the postseason, it's so much fun. Like, it's so much fun to watch, and just the way the tournament's set up, and to see that people actually earn it. They're not just given these things. Like, you earn your home and field and all things like that. But you got to go out there and play. And there's a lot of really good baseball and softball this past weekend, and there continues to be today. So it's been fun to check in on that.
Arizona, of course, in the Super Regionals, who won the Big 12 title, and then also West Virginia now into the Super Regionals too. They had 2 6-run innings in that game, 4th and the 8th to come back to win. When we come back, he's the one who's orchestrated UTSA baseball, Pat Hallmark. He's next. This is 365 Sports. I spoke with Ted Teague by email, also a couple of text messages. Even though the month of May has ended, they are still using what is the Employee Pricing Plus, and also some phenomenal deals until they roll out what they have for the month of June. The 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4x4 sticker price is just under $48,000 today. Just under $39,000. 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab, 4-wheel drive, fully loaded, MSRP just over $71,000. Right now, just under $57,000, $15,000 off. Also, 2024 Ram 3500 Cummins Turbo Diesel, automatic, priced at $52,990. That's available. It's David Gray who runs the sales department, along with a great staff of salesmen and those who will help you basically as a client manager. I went there, bought my car back in the summer of 2020. I've had a great experience with it, other than some bumps and bruises that are just part of the attrition. And I love their pre-owned vehicles and what they have in the lot. Ted Teague, CEO and General Manager. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Penny to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Here we go, this 4 o'clock hour, rolling up to the top of the 5, and there is Pat Hallmark, the head baseball coach at UTSA, with us with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak. Coach, thank you very much. What has, and you, by the way, great stuff. What a great story, but this is something you've expected. What has the last 24 hours been like for you?
Oh, it's been fast. I haven't slept much, but it's been exciting. And the excitement's settling down a little bit, trying to turn the page to UCLA right now.
They could have fired you off to any regional, Coach. I mean, they could have. How much did the familiarity with Texas help your guys maybe ease into the week as if they could have been in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or Conway, or wherever they could have been?
Yeah, I do think it helped. It helped in preparation. Once we got there, I don't know. Texas is really good, so I wasn't excited about going there because they're so good. But in hindsight, the early part of the week was very smooth. Practice was so normal and routine, and the guys were very relaxed. Didn't know exactly what that would mean. But when we got over there, where I saw the most relaxation, that in hindsight, it's pertinent, is in the mound visits. Our infield comes up in the mound visits with the pitcher and catcher, and the guys were joking with me in the mound visits. And obviously, usually in the mound visit, you're in the weeds. The other team's got guys on base. So in hindsight, I think that was partly due to the familiarity, like you said, with Texas and the ballpark, and our fans showed out wonderfully over there. So all of that helped relax the guys and helped us play better.
Coach, there's a portion of your press conference that I saw making the rounds. You're talking about transfers and replacing guys. And I was just curious of when you went to go find the right guys, or when you do that on a yearly basis, what do you go and look for? What makes a great road runner for you as a baseball player and as a member of the UTSA family?
The first answer is pretty basic, but we need talent. We need guys that have the tools. We're not the guys that are talented and already made. We're not going to get them. We don't have the facility to get them, so we don't waste our time. But we need talent. We need some raw ingredients. That's the first thing we look for. My assistant coaches do a fabulous job, Zach Butler and Ryan Aguayo. But some of the raw tools are the first thing we look for. And the second thing is this kind of mantra that's taken hold, this JYD mindset. And we do talk about it. It's nothing. I never imagined it would blow up like it's blown up in the last week or so. But that's the second thing we look for. It's harder to define. My coaching staff and I know what it looks like. We know what it sounds like. You can try to fake it, but when you're in a recruiting visit and we start talking to you about being coached hard and being challenged and showing up every day, hoping other people take your job, that's what I tell them. You tell pretty quick, just a look on their face if they're ready for that. And if they don't like that, they don't say yes to the recruiting visit, and we're better off because of it.
Jeff Traylor, who we've had on this show many, many times, sent this to me. He said you guys are very close, of course, similar type stories. He's old school, Smokey, no nonsense ball coaching Jesse. I love him. He's feisty. You will like him. You had the run when you were at Rice for the longest of time. Are you old school, and what does old school actually mean?
I've been told I'm old school. I don't know. I'm a baseball coach. That's what I describe myself as. I'm demanding, and I coached under Wayne Graham, and he used to say, if you're a coach, people say he was demanding, and he'd say, well, I'm a coach. And at the time when I was younger, I didn't always stop and grasp it, but I 100% know what he means. If you're going to coach and you're not demanding, you're going to lose. So yeah, I don't know if I'm old school. I'm a baseball coach. I love it. Jeff Traylor's a wonderful human being, but Jeff Traylor's a leader. This whole place over here, UTSA Athletics, is led by Jeff Traylor. The baseball team, Pat Hallmark, Karen Aston. We all look to Jeff Traylor. He's such a fabulous man. So what you're saying, he said, I'm so grateful for, and in all, really, what a great guy.
I was looking forward to asking you about Wayne Graham. As a guy who's been a college baseball fan my whole life, you can't ignore his contribution to the game and what he accomplished there at Rice. What was it like coaching and learn? Was it like taking a master class on coaching for those years? Because he defined the modern game of college baseball for a lot of people.
I don't know. I've never been in a quote master class.
Yeah.
But with coach, it was, it's what it's supposed to be. It's baseball all day, every day in the office. You wake up in the morning and show up at work, and there's not a lot of, how's your wife and kids? It just doesn't come up. It's ball. It's, why is your catcher not receiving the low pitch properly? We had a strike 3 called a ball, Pat, because your catcher didn't get the job done. And, why can so-and-so not handle the breaking ball and or not throw the breaking ball for a strike and a full count? And it's not always fun. It was not always fun, but it was always informative, and it was always growth-filled, and it was always about player development and people development. Even at the time, if you didn't realize it, that's what it was about. And right now, I'm just so filled with gratitude for the program, for people like Wayne Graham. And so that's what I think of, the growth that he instilled in me without me even realizing it. I was just trying to help the team win. And I'm better off because of him.
How do you go about balancing now what's next, enjoying what happened, but also understanding this is not the end? What's kind of the protocol and the way you go about doing that with your guys?
Systematically, I told myself I was going to enjoy it last night. And then as soon as I went to bed and woke up, it was going to be over. I did give the guys the whole morning. They slept in. They slept in. I didn't see them much this morning. The bus was at noon, and I didn't see many of them before noon. But I did tell myself I was going to let the guys have the morning, and I was not going to make them or ask them to turn the page until we pulled into the parking lot here on campus. So that's what I did. We got to there's a big bunch of folks here that we're grateful for, but once we pulled into the parking lot, we had a short meeting on the bus, and we talked about UCLA, and we talked about the fact that UCLA is probably happy they're playing us. The reality is they probably didn't want to play Texas, and they don't know who we are. So they're looking into us now, and hopefully that puts a chip on our shoulder. We'll see how we do.
Pat, does something like what happened, and again, you have UCLA next, does this help in you and the administration, from the athletic department to the president and more? Do you get some perks out of this? Do you get a stadium or anything like that? Or is that just way too early to talk?
I hope you keep saying that. I've heard nothing. I've heard no talks like that in terms of what we're doing now. There's some talks for a couple years from now prior to what we're doing now. So about a player development building, but it has nothing to do with what we're doing now. But it starts at the top with the president. That's who we got to get behind us more than anything in what we're doing. We can become self-sustaining, which not every baseball program can. And I'm not going to shy away from saying that after what we're doing now. I've always thought that, and I have shied away from saying it because I don't like to be a bloviator. I want to speak in facts, and now they're facts. We can be self-sustaining. We're in San Antonio. It's huge. Put the facility here. The fans will come. Give them a reason to come. The reason is on the field. The product is on the field. Now give them a reason a ballpark that they like to sit in. So please get that word out there.
Pat Hallmark, head coach at UTSA baseball, with us on 365 Sports.
Pat, there are media outlets now. There's way more visibility for college sports if people know where to find it, obviously, than there were before. College baseball is a great game. It is so much fun to watch. If you're a baseball fan, I don't know how you don't watch it. What would you say to people who are on the fence or all that about coming to the game? Because whether it's watching on television or going to games, it is a great game that I don't think gets enough coverage.
I agree completely. I'm biased, but it's exciting. In the passion of the players, that's what it's about. It's about the players. It's not about the coaches. It's about the players. The passion of the players sells. And then if you get a good quality team, and not every college baseball team plays defense the way they should or throws strikes the way they should. But at the end of the day, if you get quality baseball, which this time of year, most teams throw strikes and play defense, that's how you define quality baseball. The batted balls and the home runs are going to happen. But the strikes and the defense is what people don't realize they need to see. Nobody wants to see walks and errors. So, but it's the passion of the player. Go watch a minor league or major league baseball game and then go watch a college baseball game. The passion of the player is astronomically different. It sells itself. That's why you like it. That's why I like it. It's the passion of the player.
Pat, we're in an age in college sports where there is this, it's getting to be more and more of a separation when it comes to revenue, separation when it comes to realignment, separation when it comes to the postseason. But by God, not everybody advanced, but the UTSA, Coastal Carolina, Wright State, Murray State, Arkansas Little Rock tonight against LSU, Southern Miss. How important is that we reeled off those programs, or I did, and that they can play and win games in the postseason?
It's fun. I mean, that's what the fans want too. And the revenue it's an interesting thing, and we all want it, right? Like Jim Schlossnagle and some of these fantastic coaches have huge contracts, and I'd be crazy to say I didn't want to make more money, but they have problems that I don't have, and it's not lost on me. I can push some buttons with my players and get them to play a little harder, some challenge buttons that it's more difficult for A&M and Texas and some of these huge programs to push those buttons, because those kids are making, I don't know, $150 to $1 million. Even some baseball players are making that kind of money. So, and when you try to, I don't know, but if you try to push those buttons, they've got an agent telling them how wonderful they are, and 5 girlfriends telling them how wonderful they are. And I don't have guys making NIL money on my team. Some of them are on scholarship. A lot of my guys are not even on scholarship. They're paying to play baseball. And they're junkyard dogs. They're hungry. And when I tell them, you got a chance to go beat all these huge programs with all this stuff, they enjoy it. It's fun for them. It's the same thing at Southern Miss. It's the same thing at Coastal. They might have a little more NIL than us, but that's why you see what you see. And again, that's what the fans are going to love when they come out and watch us. Not just us, but Omaha, everything.
If a player that was there that left contacted you and wanted to come back, what would your conversation be like?
It would not be a for sure no. We'd sit down and talk. Again, it would be back to some of the questions we mentioned earlier. The hunt for the junkyard dog. Like, what's it going to be like when on the bad days in the fall, when I'm in your ass a little bit and telling you it's not good enough. And then it's just, looking them in the eye and hearing how mom and dad respond. You get a lot of information from mom and dad. If mom and dad want to talk, it's not good. Leave them alone and let them be grown-ups. So that's what it would be about. It would not be a definite no. If they had talent, we need talent. But it would just be a conversation, and my assistant coaches would be in on it. So, and we'd go from there.
Last question. You went to Rice, and you mentioned the history there with Coach Grab, but did you help tear down the goalpost when Rice beat Texas in football?
That might be me. People have been sending me that. Yeah. Yes.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, congratulations. I know you've got a lot of people who want to talk to you, and it's about UCLA next and getting all that set up for your trip. We do appreciate your time. Absolutely. We love Jeff Traylor. We are so thrilled to have you on the show, Pat. Good luck moving forward.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Pat Hallmark, UTSA baseball coach, with us on 365 Sports.
I'm going to, if I know Smokey's you're going to be leaving us for a couple days in the end of the week. I think I would love to do more college baseball around this time of year. UTSA is a great story. There's so many ones. Did you guys? We didn't talk about it, but LSU Shreveport went 59-0.
I saw that note. Yeah,
yep. Yeah. I think I want to talk to their coach because baseball is so hard to go 59-0. I don't care what level you're at. Everybody has a bad day. Like everybody has a day where you can't hit the strike zone, where nobody's hitting. If somehow they went through that, so
well,
but,
I mean, the other team's on scholarship too,
yeah,
and sometimes on more than that, as you mentioned. It's
it's great. UTSA, great story, and best of luck against UCLA. Have fun in Bel Air.
Yeah, they will. They, so long as they got enough cash, given how expensive everything is. But other than that, I don't think there's any wildfires out there right now, so that's good, or at least not in that vicinity. But yeah, I love that area, and that's a fun place to go to on a little, I guess, quote unquote playoff trip. But I can't help but think, I know San Antonio is a really big city. I know that there's a lot of proud UTSA alumni, but man, if they can ever get enough alumni with enough money going, man, they know how to hire coaches. They know how to win. Like the only component they're missing. And I know that the people who get tired of hearing it are the ones that have been the ones always having to answer the bell. So I'm not speaking to those people, the people who have constantly given and given and given. I don't know how you go about doing it, because you only can be as big as you are, and any growth takes time, takes years. But gosh almighty, if they got a couple people that have been holding out that are like San Antonio millionaires, like go donate to UTSA, man, and watch them rip, man. Watch them run, because they're doing a whole lot without a whole lot. And it's very clear how much that's the biggest issue that they face, is just being able to maintain it because of a lack of the oomph, the dinero that a lot of others get. So yeah, that's to me the biggest bridge to them being bigger than they are, but doing what they've done already with what they have has been mightily impressive.
There's a huge weekend for UTSA to do it at Texas, which has this unbelievable history and tradition, won the SEC, and they're done. They're out, as are some of the other higher seeds that we mentioned along the way to start this show.
Yeah, and I hated, he had a quote in his press conference about the guys who transferred out, and he was talking about how they just went and replaced them. And it wasn't like, unfortunately, you had certain sites that are the typical sites they're going to take and be like, head baseball coach blazes, outgoing, kind of BS headline like that. I thought he was just very matter of fact and to the point. You know what? They're not kids. They don't need to be treated with kid gloves. They decided to go leave to go play somewhere else with more money, or whatever the opportunity was. And he wasn't blaming them for that. He's just saying, like, hey, we got better players as a result of it. We went and got better guys that are better for us. And so don't believe the clickbait headline. It was a very cool moment, I'm sure, for him to be able to, like, flaunt the guys that are there, not the guys that aren't. And that's the last thing you probably going to be talking about after you beat Texas to eliminate them, is the guys who aren't there anymore, right? So I thought he actually handled that really well. Mm-hmm. And when I started to bring that up, I think he started wondering where I was going with that. But I was ultimately just interested in, like, okay, clearly you didn't need those guys. Like, you moved on, but how did you move on? How did you find the right guys to be able to fill those shoes and then be better than those guys were? And so, I appreciate his time and appreciate them being a fun story for us to talk about these last couple days.
We'll have Mike Craven, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, on here in just a second. Paul's Top 5 in about 45 minutes. And, of course, Andrew with the poll results, too, to close out the show at the end of the 5 o'clock hour. If you're a Texas fan, they won the SEC regular season title. They were ranked number 1 a lot throughout the year. Was this year in your opinion, how would you describe it? Schlossnagel's first year after, of course, a year ago having that gut-wrenching ending by losing in the national championship series, and then just 2 or 3 days later, he's headed to Austin. This is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com. Dr. Rob Maxey and his owners, partners, he's one of them, have done an amazing job with what they have inside the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. $497, that's the number. That's how much it will cost you to get an MRI. $497. Oh, excuse me. And sometimes less. File the insurance papers and maybe that number goes lower. The average MRI around the country is a little over $1,100. Different places much higher than that. I have been inside their state-of-the-art imaging machine. It is a phenomenal business that helps a doctor, and you. Find out what is hurting so much that you might need surgery or just some sort of physical therapy and get back on your feet. Whether it's a knee or a back or a neck or a shoulder, it's idealmri.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Car Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
365 Sports, we start this 5 o'clock hour. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a fantastic day in the rest of the week. Mike Craven, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Remember, he took that long and winding road and tour through Texas to watch some, or at least cover and then digest and spit it back out to us, the football teams around this great state. One of the stories, and Mike, thank you very much for your time, old school versus new money inside TCU and Texas Tech's roster battle. And is there a right way, or is there just going to always be different ways?
I think we're going to find that out over the next couple of years. I think the thing with the transfer portal is how volatile it'll be. I think Florida State's become the poster child for this. When it hit in 2023, they were 13-0, probably should have made the college football playoff if their quarterback doesn't get injured. They went back to the well in 2024 and the wheels fell off early and everybody kind of got off the bus and they were 2-10 and one of the worst teams in the country. And I went to TCU and Tech in back-to-back days. And it just kind of struck me how different the teams were going into 2025. Like TCU's got an offensive coordinator for the third year, a defensive coordinator going into year 2, only had at that time 11 or 12 transfers, most of them kind of not starters outside of wide receivers. Then you drive the 5 hours over to Lubbock and it's a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, 4 new defensive linemen in the transfer portal, a whole new offensive line. And so some of it's what you can do. Tech had a lot of money, so they were able to go into that transfer portal and to get those big stars. But it does feel like those two teams took kind of different approaches, and we're going to see which one works out the best for them.
Do you think with Texas Tech, I mean, obviously there was quantity there. Absolutely. But they really did drill down on production as well. They don't have too many guys that they went out that were which I think was Mike Norvell's problem, is he got a lot on potential. Oh, these guys, they didn't play at LSU or Bama, so we have a spot for them. They'll play here. And there's a reason they didn't. As were Tech's guys, if you look at what they did, almost all of them have a lot of skins on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I love Texas Tech's transfer portal class. I think they added 6 or 7 starters on defense, probably 5 or 6 on offense, especially up front. I've said this before, Texas always had a really good 7-on-7 football team. No matter the coach, they usually can throw the ball around. They usually have good wide receivers. They're usually decent at a couple of spots defensively, but they just can't compete in the trenches. They haven't been good along the offensive line, especially in pass pro the last few years. They haven't been good along the defensive line. Tim DeRuyter got fired, but I don't know if Bill Belichick could have coached that defense much better. The personnel just wasn't very good. Both of those coaches going into year 4, I think Sonny's betting on continuity and knowing the roster and the development. And I think Joey McGuire had some funds at his disposal that Texas Tech never had before. And they said, well, if we can go get some guys that we wouldn't have gotten out of high school or that we couldn't have got otherwise, let's go splash and figure this out before rev share went around. But I think you're right. I think early on in the transfer portal, a lot of coaches fell into the trap of potential and getting those 5 stars, kind of like the Oakland Raiders with Al Davis, how they were always trying to take first-round draft picks later on after they hadn't worked. And that's kind of boom or bust. I think Tech is going more with proven commodities that they've seen play, that have played at that level, and they can plug and play because, they're all in on 2025. They need it to happen right now.
Mike, is anything short of a Big 12 title appearance by Texas Tech? Failure feels like such a strong word, but they're leaning into it, though, man. It'd be one thing if it was a bunch of people are saying, hey, they should be really good. And they're like, hey, we still got some warts, but they're not doing that. They're like, hell yeah, we expect to be good. So is it championship appearance or bust in your mind for what they've invested?
Yeah, I think so. The Vegas line came out a couple weeks ago and it was 8.5, and it feels like if they hit under, that's a huge disappointing season. These transfers that they got aren't going to be around for a couple of years. David Bailey, those kind of Lee Hunter, those guys aren't going to be around in 2026. This is a 1-year rental proposition for most of these transfer portal guys, and so it has to hit the ground running. They have a schedule that lines up pretty well. They like their new coordinator additions that they made. They feel good about their roster. You look around at the Big 12 and, they have to be the favorite. They spent the most money. They have the best roster. Now, I think, honestly, the catalyst for this is what SMU did. SMU spent a lot of money in the transfer portal going into their first year in the ACC. They make it to the championship game, the college football playoff, and you can see what it did for that program. I think Texas Tech saw that and is trying to make a similar splash. And yeah, I think Joey McGuire would agree that if they don't end up in at least Arlington for the Big 12 championship, that he would consider it a failure.
Yeah, they've been winning, and they've closed pretty well with Joey, but there's that 1 or 2 games that are the hiccups that keeps you out of a Big 12 championship game. What are their weaknesses, you think, leading or coming out of spring football?
It's a great question. They have a lot of new faces. So to me, it's just the continuity. How do you build a team? For our whole lives, football has been kind of the outlier in team sports. You can have a couple stars in basketball. Your pitching can be really good in baseball. Football is the ultimate team sport. And you've always been told that it takes a couple of years to build that continuity, to build the team, and to have the whole foxhole mentality. Well, this is a mercenary army in Lubbock. And if things go well early on, you probably keep them together. You start marching in the right direction, and you go on a roll. But what happens to Texas Tech if they lose a week 2 game or a week 3 game that you're not supposed to, or they're 2-2 after 4 games or 3-3 after 6? Are you able to keep that roster together? A roster that probably didn't grow up wanting to go to Texas Tech, that didn't go through the traditional recruiting, hasn't been there for a couple of years. So to me, that's kind of the weakness. That's the question mark. Is just how do you build a team that quickly in that way?
What do you think TCU did or did not add that they should have in the portal?
Well, I think they did add wide receivers, and that was a huge one for them. They lost Stavion Williams, Jack Best, J.P. Richardson. That was the position that was the biggest hole. And to be fair in this conversation, TCU went heavy on the transfer portal previously. If you look over the last 2 classes, I think TCU has 36 new guys. Texas Tech has 37. but it's the type of transfers. Like TCU is getting a lot of guys that have 2 or 3 years of eligibility, and it's almost old school recruiting just through the transfer portal. Whereas Tech is going for stars that have played, that are going to be there for 1 year. I think TCU did really well at the wide receiver position. I think the big question for the Horned Frogs is just the run game. They got Kavorian Barnes from UTSA, who was really good early on in his career, kind of like a Richard Reese, had a really big freshman year and then kind of faded, and some other guys took that role. Last year, it was kind of Josh Hoover bust offensively. And so if they improve their run game, is probably the one question mark in the transfer. If we look back in December and they still can't run the football, I think the criticism would be that they could have done more in the transfer portal, maybe running back and offensive line.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I hate the fact that the Big 12 Texas schools don't all play each other. And in this year in particular, you got what Tech doesn't play Baylor, and I don't think they play TCU either, unless I'm mistaken on that. But I just feel like there's got to be a way to round robin these teams. It just feels like a real shame to not have them play, especially heading into a year like this when they all, save maybe Houston, expect to be ultra competitive.
Yeah, it's killing my business model for sure. Need those guys to play. Need the Southwest Conference to come back. Yeah, that's the crazy part to me of this whole deal. I mean, we could get into expansion and just kind of the SEC and Big Ten kind of taking over, and all those are bummers. But the biggest bummer to me is that we've just lost the regionality of this sport. Like, I grew up a Texas fan because my grandfather worked for the UT football team, and I knew guys that were from Tech families or from Baylor families, TCU, Texas A&M, like. I don't know anybody who grew up a Kentucky fan or an Alabama fan or Georgia. There's nobody to talk trash to. And that's the whole point of sports, is to win something and then rub it in your friend's face. Like that's to me, that's my favorite part of it. Like, I went to UTSA beat UT in the regional last night, and it's been more fun giving my Longhorn friends crap than it has been just like enjoying the win. And we've lost that in college football, and I think that's a bummer. I think that's a sad thing.
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't know when in the interview, but how about those? I mean, we just had the old coach on here just a few minutes ago and talking about that big win, but that was something else, man. I know that you've covered them for a long time.
Yeah, meat. First of all, but yeah, I think I could make a pretty easy argument that was the biggest moment in UTSA athletics history. The only other thing I can think of is maybe winning the first Conference USA championship there with Jeff Traylor. But not only to make a super regional, but to beat, Big Brother and the mothership, as it's called, if you're a UTSA fan, and to kind of get through that. They're 3-0 this season against Texas and do it in a convincing fashion. Like, it wasn't flukish. Like, they beat them pretty soundly. If they were able to get to Omaha, I've already looked up how long that drive is. I have not broke it to the wife yet that I may go. We have a newborn at home, and so I may be in the doghouse. But I'd probably have to figure out a way to get there if that was to happen.
You have to go, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got to find a way.
Yeah.
Get a
I got a 4-month at home, 4-month-old at home that was born a little early, who's a little small, who needs some extra care. And I've been, if y'all can help me out figuring out a way to approach that and to be able to figure out a way to do that, I'm all ears.
Paul, you want to babysit?
Well, yeah,
give us your wife's cell phone number. We'll ruin it for you.
She's in contract law, so she can argue. So you got to be prepared. I got to come up with a real argument here. I got to formulate something. Maybe make a dissertation or something.
My wife used to be a nanny, so.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, she's not anymore, but she still, she
could be. She
still has the skills. I mean, we had a company barbecue the other night, and one of the bosses bought his newborn baby there, and she like rolled right into it. So, I could throw it out there. So
yeah, riding a bike.
Yeah,
riding a bike.
Exactly. Mike, you also wrote about the SEC and Big Ten, manifest destiny that they seem to have in their quest to kind of ruin college football for everybody else. What do you think that the other conferences can do outside of a unified message, or is that the thing? Is that it has to be the Big 12 and the ACC and everybody else with a unified message against those two?
Yeah, I think they're doing what they can. They don't have a lot of power. The SEC and the Big Ten have so many of the bargaining chips, and this thing's gone their direction for so long. What strikes me is it's just never enough for them, right? Like, they have all the power, they have all the money, they have all the access, and like one of their 3-loss teams doesn't make it in one year, and they're like, we have to change the whole system to fit into their priorities. And it's just, I don't know. It's like what I was talking about earlier, just the loss of regionality and just the consolidation of power into these two conferences is bad for the rest of the sport. Like I said this on Twitter, like the fact that Greg Sankey is good at his job, which is bad for everybody else, like is part of the problem. There's just no centralized leadership, and that's allowed two groups to kind of take over like the mafia would, right? Like two families have kind of taken over in the absence of any centralized power. College football has nobody to blame but themselves, though. I mean, they put their head in the sands for decades on end and hope that the system just worked out, and it didn't. They lost in court every single time that they've gone, and the SEC and Big Ten have taken over, and I just think it's bad for everybody else. But I think they have to go with the 5+11 model, even though that probably allows SEC and Big Ten even more teams. Just because if you would go for the automatic bid thing where it's like 4 for the Big Ten, 4 for the SEC, and 2 for everybody else, you're just admitting that you're not peers with them, and there's no longer a Power 4. It's just like an Elite 2. So I don't think that there's a great solution for the Big 12 and the ACC, other than hopefully that their institutions kind of push all their chips into the table, get better, and go compete with these guys and keep it from being, AFL and NFL.
What was your take last week when the SEC had their media days and Sankey did kind of puff his chest out? And then they came back with, as the Big 12 was starting their spring meetings, with all these stats and all these, like, look at us, when everyone does because they get all the attention.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like a feedback loop, like a positive feedback loop. Like if you, of course, your strength of schedule is going to be higher if everybody ranks your teams higher, and then you just beat each other, and then you can go like, well, look at our schedule. I just don't know when we lost like what matters on, or what happens on the field matters the most. They talk about strength of schedule like that. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky at home. Like Alabama lost to OU and Vanderbilt. Like it's not like they're the only. If Alabama's 3 losses were like Georgia, Texas, and Ole Miss, then maybe they'd have an argument. I don't know. It just feels unfair to everybody else, and I think the Big Ten skates because they don't talk. Like Petiti doesn't talk the way that Sankey does, and so the SEC gets all the hate. But the guaranteed auto bid thing, from my understanding, is mostly a Big Ten concoction because they want to have those playing games at the end of the season, and you're not going to do that unless you have guaranteed spots. So I think the SEC probably takes too many of the bullets for it, and the Big Ten's as culpable of that. I just fear that this thing is moving in a direction that you can't stop, and that's just the Big Ten, the SEC, taking their ball, making their own kind of sport, having their own playoff, and kind of leaving everybody else behind. I
brought this up. There was a text exchange I had with a college coach, and I asked him, he brought up, listen, the NCAA is business, and the SEC is the bell cow. Of course, the Big Ten makes even more money. And I still cannot imagine. I'm not saying I can't imagine eventually a super league, but just because you are born into a conference and you're Vanderbilt or Mississippi State or Northwestern or whoever, does that mean you get to remain in that conference if they move forward for a national championship with other conferences waiting around?
I mean, I think that they would, just because they need food to eat, right? Like, if you don't have Rutgers, if you don't have Vanderbilt, if you don't have Maryland, like, who do you lose to? And there's a lot of teams in those conferences that have gotten used to being 7-5, 8-4, 9-3 on a consistent basis. Well, if they lose the 4 or 5 teams in conference that they can beat on a consistent year, like, all of a sudden you're going to go 2-10, and your fan base isn't going to be very happy. So I think they have to keep some of the minnows around just to conflate who they've built their reputation into being. Like, so much of it is perception. And they have done a great job of marketing, and it just means more and all that kind of stuff. I think it's odd that this is happening as the sport is probably building more parity than it's had since the 90s with the transfer portal and the NIL. And I think that's why those two conferences are pushing for this expansion and pushing for the auto bids, is to kind of stop that and to quell that and to keep all the power that they've built over the last 30 or 40 years. Like, they don't want to give it back to the UTEPs of the world, much less the Texas Techs and Baylors and Iowa States of the world.
Yep, no question.
Mike, I mentioned it last week when the propaganda was released by the SEC. Going back 10 years makes no sense, considering that the first 7 of those 10 years, the rules were the exact opposite that they are now when it comes to roster building. So really, you need to look at the last 2 to 3 years, and then that's your metric. So telling me that 10 years ago this was what the S&P was doesn't really matter, because that those factors that were not even being entertained at the time.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Like, a Texas Tech couldn't do what they're doing right now. Like, you don't have to be the third string offensive tackle at Alabama anymore. Like, you can go start somewhere else and get paid and be seen. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the SEC hasn't won the last couple of national championships as other people have started spending money. And I think revenue share is going to even that playing field out anymore. And they know that. Like, they're smart. Like, they see that. Like, in my neighborhood, we don't need rules to keep, like, multi-family houses from being built until they start being built, right? Like, and I think that the SEC and the Big Ten are starting to see kind of the movement and starting to see some other teams start building rosters and starting to compete. You've seen SMU. We talked about Texas Tech. And I think that they don't want that to happen. I think they're trying to solidify their place as the two power conferences in the country. And if they can get that, kind of codified into the rules, then, there's less for them to worry about on the outside, and they can get one step further or one step closer to kind of be in the AFC and the NFC, and they're doing the, kind of NFL diet thing. Maybe they take a couple of colleges that aren't a part of their conferences right now, but I just think that's the way it's going, and anything the Big 12 and the ACC can do to slow that down is probably good for the sport.
Mike, great stuff. Couple of great columns, but you always do that. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. And you could tell your wife that 365 Sports feels like it would be a fun trip for you to get to LA to watch UTSA.
I appreciate that, guys. Sounds like we have a nanny, so I appreciate that.
There we go.
Look, I can make no promises. I do not speak for her, but
ever. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Mike Craven with us. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, which of course is just around the corner as we hit the month of June, with high school football season around the corner in the state too. All right, we want to get to a super chat. Houston Cougars, Germany. We appreciate it. From best regards from Northern Bavaria. Remember, I brought this up last week with our letter from Kasten Wather. Great job, guys. Keep up the excellent work. Duncan Shane.
All right, I'm gonna bet you I know his favorite Houston Cougar of all time, Sebastian Vollmer.
All right. Well, I don't know if he's still on, but
it's Sebastian Vollmer.
He was the one that was the offensive lineman, right?
He's German. I had a great interview with him at the Super Bowl a few years back when he was playing for the Patriots. I asked him about Mike Spradlin, who was his position coach, and some of the other people that he had played for, but Mike Spradlin in particular, and he was a good friend of ours. But yes, I'm going to guess it's Sebastian Vollmer. If I'm wrong, if you say, no, it's Andre Ware. Come on, what are you talking about?
Well, we'll wait for him. Let's see if he responds to it. By the way, I asked him how everything is in Northern Bavaria. All is well. And on our end, while the political climate leaves something to be desired, we're in good health. And that, above all, is what truly matters. I greatly enjoy your show.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sentiment around the world. He says it could be better, could always be worse. And so good to know that it's definitely on the better end than the worse end. And I just looked up Sebastian Vollmer, and just because he's out in Germany doesn't mean that he necessarily would it could be like Greg Ward.
Yeah, exactly. But
Sebastian Vollmer did have an offensive line camp in Dusseldorf, apparently earlier, or I guess over the weekend. So I just happened to Google him once Paul said his name, and he was having a camp out in Dusseldorf, Germany. So maybe you're right on that. But regardless, I do appreciate the viewership and being a part of the show.
By the way, speaking of it, do you remember the email he sent us? I didn't get to read much of it. I just mentioned we got it, but a lot of it is about the SEC and the Big Ten, the Super League. He goes, is fundamentally untenable. The proposed model is inherently unsustainable. And his email, which is like right here from last week, really does fit with what we just discussed with Mike Craven.
Do you think we could sell a show in a week of shows in Bavaria? I'd be down.
Yeah, who knows? That would definitely be interesting. I'd love to go catch some Bundesliga out there if at all possible.
Excuse me?
It's the German
Soccer League.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're top-level soccer league.
It's interesting as a military brat. I've met more people who have been in Europe or were at was it Wiesbaden in Germany than that were in Asia. When I was there for I was in Guam and then also in Japan. But when I meet many people who were military brats, almost all of them seem like they were in Europe, Germany or otherwise. One final thing, in sum, the SEC and Big Ten Super League, a confederation positioned in legal and structural juxtaposition between the NCAA and the NFL. Neither amateur informed nor professional in precedent is not only competitively and economically unsound, such a secession risked alienating fans, attracting political blowback, ultimately collapsing under the weight of its own exclusivity.
Yeah, when they tried the Soccer Super League, it faltered pretty quickly because of public outcry, and I've maintained that the two things that'll prevent something similar from happening, which, again, everybody's definition is different. My definition of a Super League is not everybody in two leagues. It's the best of the best in those leagues, like the real blue blood brands and the big brands, not Vandy, with all due respect, and not Kentucky in football, at least, right? But I don't know how all that would work to begin with, but I'm not spending too much time on it because of what you said. I don't think it's all that realistic right now. I do think it's the desire of some, though, and I do think it's being pursued to some degree, at least a fleshing out of trying to see what that would look like. I think it's obvious when you hear the SEC athletic directors are the greediest people on planet Earth. We blame Greg Sankey, but it's really the ADs, the presidents that are talking to him. They're the ones saying, well, 4 is not enough. It's like, and to Mike said, you've got all the money, you've got the playoff spots, you've got the TV networks, you've got every single thing, and you're still bitching about not having enough. So, no, I don't think for 1 second that even if they get their way with the playoff and Sankey did the whole, I'm going to fake you out with this one just so you go for the other one, whether that's the case or not, it'll never be enough. So, yeah, I'd imagine there's still some people at Auburn or Georgia or wherever, they're like, well, what about this idea? But I think that the two P's, politicians or politics and public outcry, will be the two things that prevent that from happening anytime soon.
And what happened when they did, it's going to be very similar. It's a misreading of the fans in that, when they tried to do that super soccer league, the people in the countries are like, look, it's cool when we get to play them, but I don't want to only play them. I don't care. I live in Liverpool. I don't care about any of the teams in Munich other than when we're in that Champions League thing. That's great. But I'm in Liverpool. I want to beat Manchester United. That's who I want to beat. I don't care about playing, teams in France or Italy or wherever. It doesn't matter. Not to that level.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a Matt Flynn who joined us last week from LSU, and he's like, I don't care about playing Southern Charleston in week 2. I don't care. And you know what? I don't care about most of those games either from oh man, I got to watch that standpoint. It's more like, well, it's college football. It's on TV, so I'm going to watch it and see how ugly this gets. But there is this thing with everyone nowadays where we've been so tailored to that, anything outside of that's not perfectly tailored to everything we want and nothing that we don't like is off the table, right? So I want blue bloods on the entire schedule. There are people that want that, but there are people that want to still play Virginia something because they've played them for 100 years. So I guess it just is a matter of who you talk to, but we know what the TV networks want, and they want the biggest games possible. So they don't care about that rivalry aspect if it's not the two biggest brands. So those people will still keep scheming. I just don't think it's something to worry about right this very moment, but I don't think it's something you can completely cross off. And I do think, too, with ESPN, if they think they're going to go direct to consumer and they're just going to force feed people and people are going to like it and pay for it, I think they are dead ass wrong about that. I think they are dead wrong, because I'll tell you right now, I will not pay for your DTC platform if you're going to sit there and screw around the entire state of the game for your own selfish benefits. And I know you've done that to some extent already, but if you think that people are just going to go along with it because they're too dumb to know any better, I think you are drastically underestimating the spirit of people and the spirit of football fans. So
remember what Chris Williams said last week, Craig? He said, if you're an Iowa State fan and all of a sudden you're no longer competing for something that matters, you're not going to become an Alabama fan.
No, you're not. Yeah. And, there will be some people that still watch because they're going to sports gamble. So maybe that's who they're counting on, that they're never going to go away regardless of what happens. But, yeah, there would be a lot of people that would stop caring. And I don't think they're just going to jump into being a Texas fan just at age 46 or whatever, right? Like, so I think that's a gamble that sometimes I see people go like, oh, everybody's going to still watch anyways. And I'm like, I don't think that you gauge that correctly. Now, could everybody stop watching and you still get 7 million viewers for Georgia, Alabama?
Sure.
Yes. And I think that that's what they ultimately probably bank on if you get that far down the line. But yeah, I'm interested to see where these next few years go. That's for sure. Cause it's anybody's best guess at this point.
Garrett, do you have what Paul sent us with Mark Schiffer?
How about we do the Nebraska schedule?
Can I finish something real
Yeah.
quick? But yeah, that would be good. Freezing cold takes. Do you have that? Paul, did you send that to him?
So.
All right.
All
right. So Jim Schlossnagle, as you know, after they won the SEC regular season title, winning an SEC title during the regular season is harder than winning the national championship. And then Mark Schiffer, the SEC really has gotten moonshot high in its own supply. It's a great league, but it needs to get back to just competing with the rest of the country and away from constantly, endlessly, ceaselessly subjecting everyone to panegyrics about its own manifest supremacy. He's available 8 in a week, by the way.
I'm going to call him. But look, here's the funny thing. And I talked about this in the top 5, but in case you don't stick around for that, Jim Schlossnagle said it's harder than winning the national title. He hasn't done that either.
Yeah.
So
he probably will, but
he probably will one day. But like, again, he got real close and didn't last year. But to say that it's hard, like it's kind of a, maybe I'll just say, just maybe wait until you do both those things in the same year. Well,
Mark Schiffer is available. We're trying to get him on today, but he wasn't available. So you guys can get him on. All right, Garrett, we're going to do it. It's been a month and a half.
Almost, yeah.
You want to break here first?
Yeah, let's break.
All right, we'll break, come back. Craig has demanded the Nebraska schedule. We'll get back to that as we should in rotation as we've been through the Big 12. We have been through the ACC. We are going through the Big 10. And then we'll look at the rest of college football schedules. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they're the people you can count on for all of your automotive needs and whatever those may be. Looking to get into a new vehicle this summer, looking to get into a pre-owned vehicle, something a little cheaper but still working well, wanting to get into the dealership just to make sure that your AC is working properly or that your oil change is on the updated side of things and hasn't been something you've been putting off, whatever it may be. They can help you out over at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, and right now they are celebrating our great nation with a red, white, and blue savings event. If you're driving a boring electric vehicle, they say, you can flip the switch right now over the dealership. Test drive the new Cadillac Lyriq. An all-wheel drive Lyriq offers 500 horsepower and will go 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds with a single charge distance of over 300 miles. So I don't know much about EVs, but if you're interested or already do, then you can find plenty of information on the new Cadillac Lyriq over at Richard Carr, plus a great deal as well. If you're looking for the pre-owned vehicles, as I mentioned, right now during the red, white, and blue savings event, you can find hundreds of used cars priced to move. For your upcoming summer travel, all pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and 100% credit approval is always their goal. So just a couple of the many options over there at Richard Carr for you right now. Locally owned, locally run, celebrating 26 years of business in Waco. Do business with the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Deal with people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers, everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, the top 5 around the corner. Craig Smoak, we go back to the Big Ten schedule, Nebraska.
Yeah, so for those just joining us, just as an exercise, and because we do such a lengthy show every day, just trying to come up with stuff to talk about sometimes, we started a tour of the schedules around the country, and this is not a full-blown preseason preview or prediction. It's just a look at everybody so we kind of get a better idea, wrap our heads around what they're looking at in terms of the scheduling in 2025, and just gives us an opportunity to kind of kick around about a lot of schools that we probably otherwise wouldn't talk about. Well, we would definitely talk about Nebraska, considering one of us is a massive Nebraska fan. But here they are, year 3 of Matt Rule, coming off of a 7-6 record a year ago and feeling like they're on the upswing, I still believe, with a nice young quarterback. Had the big win in the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium to close out the season against Boston College to finish above 500. So if the Matt Rule upward curve of when he's at a place is to stay true, then they should be playing in the Big Ten championship game this year, because that's kind of how it's gone for him. Is like, first year, bowl game, second year, and then you're basically competing after that. So is that in the cards for Nebraska football in a more crowded than ever before Big Ten? That remains to be seen, but they did finish outside the top 10 in the league overall last year. So you definitely want to improve upon that. But how will they need to go about doing that? Here is their 2025 schedule. As you see up on the screen, it begins with the Big 12's Cincinnati Bearcats, a big opportunity for Cincinnati. I don't think Nebraska probably looks at it the same way, but definitely a game they need to win to avoid right out of the gate embarrassment, which is exactly what would happen if they were to drop this one. So Cincinnati at home, that's on a Thursday night, August the 28th, Cincy and Nebraska. They're in a neutral location. I keep wanting to say Lincoln, but it's a neutral location. Kansas City, yeah. Then you have Akron. A few days later, you'll have a couple extra days, obviously, because you played on a Thursday night to open things up with Cincy. So then you'll return home on Saturday, September the 6th, and you will have Akron in week number 2, Saturday, September 13th. Houston Christian there to round out the non-conference schedule. So if you're not 3-0, there's problems. I got to be honest with you now. Maybe Cincinnati's much better than expected, but under no circumstances should you lose to Akron nor Houston Christian. So 2-1, and that's like an asterisk if Cincinnati ends up being like really good or something, like last year's Arizona State. Brendan Sorsby starts going crazy. If not, then that would be problematic to lose to Cincy right out of the gates, regardless, because you're going to have to wait to see how good they even are. A loss to start the season would be a nightmare for Rule. So that's very manageable is what I'm getting at. Cincy, Akron, Houston Christian to start off the year.
You should be 3-0 and waiting for your third consecutive home game, which is going to be geeked there in Lincoln.
Yeah, it will be as they open up Big Ten play Saturday, September the 20th, and then they will have their first bye. But before that, it will be that opener in Lincoln against the Michigan Wolverines. Already been announced as a CBS game there in the afternoon on Saturday, September the 20th. So you've got that big one and will be your first major challenge that we can go ahead and bank on. Then you get your first bye week. You come back and you get to see the other side of the state of Michigan as you play host to the Michigan State Spartans. So 5 weeks into the season, and the only time they've left home is to go to a neutral site game against Cincinnati in the very first game of the year. Other than that, 4 consecutive games over the span of 5 weeks, all in Lincoln. So that means that something's got to change, right? Something's going to have to flip in the second half of the schedule. So they finally hit the road for real on Saturday, October the 11th, and they will go to Maryland. Following week, still on the road, they will go to Minnesota in what will be a primetime game on Fox. Then come back on October 25th. They're back at home for a couple weeks in a row. They get Northwestern and then USC. You know that old Nebraska-USC Big Ten matchup we always loved as kids?
I remember when Bill Callahan took over as the head coach, and there was all this hype about what he was doing. They had a really good recruiting class, and USC came into Lincoln and beat the living crap out of them because they were better. And they've played them a couple of different times. But, yeah, that long-time rivalry. Yeah. I think they played in 1970 and tied. Nebraska won a national title that year with one tie, and I think that was against USC that year.
Well, while I'm talking to finish this out, you can check Winsipedia on that one.
No, I think I'm right
the,
on
the
that
go-to.
one. Yeah.
But USC, then they get the other side of Los Angeles with Saturday, November 8th trip to L.A., so they will take one of those big, long road trips to the other side of the country, and they'll then have a bye week after the UCLA game. 2 remaining. They come back Saturday, November the 22nd, 2 byes under their belt, and they are in Happy Valley for a meeting with the Penn State Nittany Lions. And then following that game, their finale, and I should mention, I skipped over this, but that Minnesota game, I mentioned it's a primetime game on Fox. It's a Friday night game, so that is of importance or of note. So they've got a Thursday game to start the season, neutral site against Cincy, Friday at Minnesota in the middle of the year, and then they close out after that trip to Happy Valley. They close out the regular season with their second Friday and their third weeknight game as they will be back at home for an 11 a.m. kick on CBS against the Iowa Hawkeyes. So there is the Nebraska schedule. 4 true road games to Maryland, Minnesota, UCLA, and Penn State. Neutral against Cincinnati to open the year, but you get Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, USC, and Iowa all at home, along with a couple of your non-cons there in Akron and Houston Christian. Not the craziest schedule. I'll get to who they obviously don't meet here in a moment, but initial thoughts on the road that Rule and company face this season.
Well, that middle part of the schedule, between the byes, they're essentially playing teams that are on their same track or lower. There's nobody who you can say is definitely ahead of where they are. Michigan State's not, Maryland's not, Minnesota's not, Northwestern's not, USC, UCLA not. So even if you are 3-1 going into that with a loss to Michigan, which who knows, on Michigan this year, there's that a lot of that national championship team's gone. They're still probably going to be really good and all that, but
Michigan's so worried about that game. Sharon Moore said he would sit out that game.
Yeah, but I know. But so say you're 3-1. Let's just 3-1 is the most likely thing. You can go through that next 6-0.
No,
pretty
way.
without it's I mean, you should go through that next 6-0
Those
based
are
on
the
where
teams.
you are. If
That's
you're
why
better,
they've been barely or not bowl eligible because they don't win those
Let's
games.
put it this way. Paul's saying you should. I'm saying you can go 6-0.
And I'm saying, hell no,
And
they're
you're
not
saying
going. They're
that's-
6-0. Okay, let me think of something I could do to myself. Let me
Okay.
think about that. If they go
win
6-0.
all those 6 games,
Yeah. Not going to be a body part. I don't have many of them
Keg
left.
stand like Paul? No?
No, God. I'll think of something.
All right, yeah. You can shave your head. Oh, well,
Maybe
that's
a ghost
pointless.
pepper on the air or something like that.
Yeah, go. Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
That would be probably
That would
the thing. That probably would be the thing. So we'd have to figure out what set of games we're exactly talking about here.
Or what's your least favorite food?
Sauerkraut. I can't stand it. Lima beans.
So if I like
cow turds.
No, that's not a food. But like sauerkraut. Yeah, okay. We'll get you a big bowl of sauerkraut or ghost pepper. We'll give you the
With
choice.
hot
we can
sauerkraut
figure
on
this
hot-
out off
hot
air
dog.
because we are running short on
spin
time.
the wheel.
Yeah,
All
we'll,
right.
we'll figure it out on air. We got plenty of time, and we don't have much time actually here today remaining. So there is the schedule for Nebraska. I do think if you don't make a bowl game, something went way, way wrong. Like there's 6 wins on this schedule. For Nebraska at this point, year 3 of Matt Rule, there should be 6 wins on this schedule. It's not the worst or most difficult schedule in the world. There's no Ohio State. There's no Oregon. You don't play Wisconsin, which I know. Who knows how good they'll really be. Luke Fickell's on the hot seat. But I don't know. You miss some of the big brands. You get some of. You don't play Washington, which, again, another one you don't really know. But it could be worse. You could get a combination of Oregon and Michigan or Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan, and you don't. So you do miss out on a couple of the big boys in that league. And I'm saying it's bowl or bust. And if they're barely making a bowl game, then I'm a little bit concerned, quite frankly, of is this thing ever going to be anywhere close to what it was?
Yep, I agree. I to me, the ceiling or the floor's got to be 8-4 to show any kind of, again, you're right. Washington.
You mean that?
Ohio.
8-4? Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure.
I'm not saying they'll get there. To me, that's the ceiling. That's the floor where they have to be
Gotcha.
8-4 to show any. And that means that also means, by God, you have to beat either 1 or 2 of Michigan, USC, and Penn State, and that is a tough order. But to me, that shows that you're making some moves.
Yeah, I mean, should be 3-0. Although Cincinnati, want to really see the world set on fire?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be nervous as hell.
You want to set the world on fire in week 1, Cincinnati? You got an opportunity to do it,
Yeah,
so that'll
go
be
out and
fun.
win that game 30-6 or something like that, or just win the damn game, because I'm not sold they will.
Well, there you go. Nebraska, bare minimum, bowl game, top expectation. I mean, sure, people want to go in the Big Ten, but yeah, something like an 8-4, I think, should be like the bare minimum expectation for them in year 3 of Matt Rule. And so there you go. There's a look at Nebraska as we pour through these various conference schedules.
This will be a year that all those teams in the middle will all be better than they were last year. And
Well, that is something. I mean, it
well,
very
you know
well could
what?
happen. Yeah.
It's what happens. But you know what? Like Indiana beat the crap out of them last year. Okay, when we come back.
Oh, yeah, they don't play Indiana, so there's another
Yeah.
school they don't have to worry
Top
about.
5 with Paul Catalina. We'll also look at the results, the poll results on the hockey, Stanley Cup, and NBA Championship Final Series coming up.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to our website, 365sportsdeals.com. You can find Flag and Anthem and all of our sponsors there, and use promo code 365sports for a deal at checkoff, or promo code SUMMER25. Right now, they just launched a new collection at Flag and Anthem for, guess what, Summer 2025. Real detectives knew that. Let's talk a little college baseball. Top 5 big things that happened during the regionals. Number 5, birds up. The UTSA Roadrunners. Cinderella lives in baseball too. Knocked off the 2nd overall seeded Texas Longhorns, and we'll talk about them more in a little bit with some of their fallen compatriots. But UTSA not only beat Texas, they throttled Texas, and they controlled that both the times they played them. They were fantastic, and a huge win for the Roadrunners over what I won't call a rival per se, but one that really means a lot to them. And this is the Cinderella so far of the NCAA baseball postseason. Congratulations to the Roadrunners. Number 4, being polite is hard. Kevin O'Sullivan, who asked you, please don't Google me, now has a 2nd entry, although less weird than the first one, berating staffers at Coastal Carolina for not having the field ready when he wanted it because the games went late the night before. Now, look, should Coastal Carolina have maybe done a little bit more? Sure. But the way that Kevin O'Sullivan reacted to that was not good, prompting reactions from all of the Coastal Carolina staff, including their head baseball coach, who came right out at Kevin O'Sullivan and talked about how he dressed down the associate AD and their grounds crew. But being polite's hard. Right, Garrett? No one asked you. See? It's tough. Number 3, there are some dumb rules. Duke had a player hit a home run that got them back in the game against Oklahoma State, a game they eventually won to move on to the Super Regionals. He was wearing a hard hat in the dugout, which is their celebration. He then, when they scored the winning run, came out of the dugout still wearing said hard hat. Because of a weird NCAA rule that says you can't wear props on the field, he was ejected from the game and is now suspended for their first game of the Super Regional. That's dumb. And the review shows he barely walked out of the dugout just to congratulate his team. He didn't even probably realize he still had the hard hat on. It happened so fast. Very dumb rule, very dumb suspension, and these are the things that sometimes get a little too nitpicky and need to be reviewed in the moment, as opposed to ejecting someone from the game just a little bit much. Number 2, hosting isn't for everyone. 4 top seeds hit the bricks this weekend. Vanderbilt, among them, the top overall seed. Texas lost as well. Georgia lost. It was a rough go for some of the big-time seeds. And that leads me to my final point. Maybe winning the SEC wasn't that hard. Jim Schlossnagle said after Texas claimed the regular season SEC title just last week that winning the SEC title is harder than winning the national title. Well, Jim, considering that you've not done that, I don't know how you have a point of comparison to it, even though you were right on the doorstep at Texas A&M last year and left to go work with your best buddy, just kind of randomly, just kind of happened. It's weird how those things occur. But a lot is made about the depth of the SEC in baseball. And look, it's true. They had a lot of good teams. Every single team that was there was deserving. Garrett, was there a team in the SEC that was not deserving of being in the top 64? Maybe Kentucky, but that's about it.
Yeah, but Kentucky won a couple games. They took it down to the wire. So maybe only one bubble team got in that maybe in other scenarios wouldn't have. But all of them deserve to be there. But this is more of the SEC propaganda that comes back and bites them. When you play teams that are not in the SEC, they just think they're going to win those games. Well, they didn't. And while, there are still games to be played tonight, they run the risk of going from 13 teams to 2 at certain points during the day-to-day. So maybe we can pump the brakes
on a little bit of the colonialism that goes on when it comes to conferences, because all that's well and good. And yes, your conference is very good in all the things. It's very good. But when it comes down to nut cutting, and believe me, there's one thing I know, it's cutting nuts. When it comes down to nut cutting, you got to play the games. And in baseball especially, who the hell knows what's going to go on? It's a hard game. It's a weird game. That's what makes it so special. So maybe don't brag until you're hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. Well, that's just a little bit of advice from me to you. And yes, I know you're all probably hung up on the nut cutting thing. I'm not. We're moving on. You know what? It gets down to nut cutting for the polls, too. Andrew Valade already did those. Smokey's going to tell you all about them.
All right, Paul, by the way, we need to take that Nebraska helmet with Rule's autograph out of the background until they
one that nobody sees anyways, really.
I mean, it's just
I noticed it. I noticed it. It was right next to Paul.
Yeah.
By the way, Paul, that I hope that baseball edges better, ends up better than basketball, where everybody's like, "See, the SEC didn't amount to anything," and then Florida wins it at the very end. So, like, there might not be as many teams as people expected, but they're probably still going to have the champ when all said.
They're 0 for 1. They're 0 for 1 today. Garrett, I mean, you talk enough noise. I'm going to come in here playing Little Rock by Tanya Tucker tomorrow.
Better not. All right, Andrew Valade, poll results from what is put up during the show in the chat room. Oh my! Which team will win the Stanley Cup championship or the final, the trophy? Panthers in a very close vote. They are the defending champions. 51-49.
Yeah, rematch, and I wonder if all of Canada is behind the Oilers.
They have to be. Why in the hell would you ask that?
Have you been following the news this year?
But I do wonder if they're like really united, or they're just like, we just have to.
Oh,
we just have to. Yeah.
I think they're all on the same page.
I've never looked at a championship like series with a team. Most of teams are in the United States, but I've never looked. Oh, I'm not rooting against Toronto or whatever.
I mean, we do that under normal circumstances. I don't think between
Olympics,
the drought for Canada, for Stanley Cups, and then just the political environment, I think that probably all of Canada is on the Oilers side. I say that. I assume that. If not, then we can get an email.
I just don't know. Like, do you hate the Oilers enough to where you'd be like, no?
Well, I don't know who their arch rival is. Garrett?
We have a couple, but I would say more that would come from the Maple Leafs.
All right, next poll on the NBA Finals. Thunder. And I made a comment earlier today before we started that they are one of the most highly odds-on favorite to win since one of those great Steph Curry teams with Golden State. And there you see it, 68% to 32.
Yeah, I mean, that's who I would pick. I'm not an NBA expert, but based on just watching enough of these two teams, it does seem like the Thunder are pretty damn formidable. But, hey, the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, they got a heart. They're very exciting and fun to watch. So I just hope for a competitive series. No dog in the fight. Although part of me selfishly is like, as a Mavs fan, I don't really want the Thunder to win a title. I don't know. They're not like a major rival, but as an ex-Mavs fan, I should say, there was that part of me. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of over that. I just want to see a great series, and I think we should get one, but not the way the bets are going. It does seem like it's all Oklahoma City.
I think Emery Winter needs a win in his life.
Maybe
so. I think Emery's playing. I think he's winning every day.
I mean, like, he's Emery, so you win when you're Emery. But I just think that Emery needs a dub.
I need Emery to be happy. He's one of my favorite people among.
He's the son I never had.
Anyone who's an Oklahoma City fan. Okay, Garrett Ross, thank you, sir. Running the mothership, and then Andrew Valade with the polls and results. Emery Winter working on 365 Sports tonight, 10:30 on the CW. For Craig, Smoak, and Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. Thanks to our great sponsors and to you for watching, listening, and being a part of the show. Good night on 365 Sports.